Hello, and thank you for joining us for a stream that is normally a Thursday night post show. That's going to be a lot bigger than wrestling today. There was an unfortunate passing of Bray Wyatt, which came about earlier today. Sean did a stream on it earlier today. All the chats from that went to the family and are being matched by Fightful. He also had permission from the family to reveal that the reason that he passed away was exacerbated heart issues from a COVID diagnosis that he was fighting. He was working back toward being in better health and was improving, but unfortunately suffered a heart attack and passed away earlier today. A few months ago on a Tuesday, I was getting ready to do the NXT review, and we did this with Jay Briscoe. And it was awful and terrible and tragic, just like this. But we did a post show, and we kind of talked about NXT, but we mostly talked about Jay and matches and Mark and the family. And at that point, too, there was all this unresolved stuff where nobody knew what was going on with his kids. But the only good thing about it, and I say the only because this is just, you're losing people in their 30s, someone my age. The only good thing to come out of it is this community always tends to show up in moments like this. I wish we would do it more. I wish we would do it outside of tragic passings. That would be neat. But it is a place where people have come and been able to lean on each other for support, where we can talk about how sad and shocking and terrible it is, where we can reminisce on best matches. I think that's kind of the reason that we still bother to do streams on nights like tonight. We'll talk about ROH, and the Impact show is going to go on kind of at their usual time, but this episode ending early kind of gives us the opportunity to give some breathing room to Bray Wyatt's passing. And we lost Terry Funk, too. I thought we were going to be coming on here talking about the passing of Terry Funk in ROH. Very different circumstances, obviously. He lived a very full life, and I think it was a peaceful situation that he passed. But let's talk about Bray. Let's talk about Wyndham Lawrence Rotunda for a minute here, and we'll get into everything else, of course, in a little bit. But the thing with Bray is, if you look on paper at his accomplishments, you'll see that he was a world title holder and a universal title holder once, and held tag titles for both brands. But it's just, even in a world where his stuff wasn't always for me, what an undeniable force that was so much bigger than any championship run he ever had. And I even look at the stuff that I felt like just didn't work, and they didn't work, but he was taking risks, which is not something we always get to see in wrestling, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. That guy had creative capacity that we don't see a lot in wrestling. When I look down some of the stuff that was really great, all three matches with Danielson were great, especially that strap match. Of course, the Firefly Funhouse at Mania with John Cena, his match at Payback, I thought was one of his better matches as well. Jericho and Bray and Roman against each other and tagging together, I always thought was super fun. The Ultimate Deletion match with Matt Hardy. I think everybody comes back to the Wyatt family versus the Shield. And when I think about Brody being gone too, it just, it just feels wrong. It feels really, really, really wrong. But it is an incredible legacy to leave behind, that these guys who have gotten taken away at such a young age, we have so many moments and memories of, and left such an impact. And a lot of people have a lot to say about them outside of the ring too, about the type of human beings they were. This guy was 36 years old. He had 4 kids. He was behind his wife, and a whole lot of people. And man, Reg, you were never really coy about the fact that this stuff wasn't for you, but the people who it was for, this was the pinnacle to them. This guy was the guy. It was like The Undertaker and Bray Wyatt. And I think about kids like Bo, who's Kim Gray, who's always so supportive in here. Her son, this was it. This was the guy. He was it. He was in on the White Rabbit. He was in on all the creepy stuff that was happening. Like, he was the ultimate force for all of this stuff. And I feel like it says a lot about someone that not only did you reach the pinnacle of what you do in any art form, but so many people were saying to me today, like, that's the reason that they stayed in it. That's the reason they came back, was they saw the spectacle that he brought to life. So just that's kind of my piece on it. I'm sure I'll have more to say as this goes on, but you can get in your chats about it. We can talk about it, of course. I didn't hear back from Sean about whether or not we're donating these to. I don't want to speak and say that we are. My guess would be that we are. And we can also talk about ROH too. Reg, if you have anything that you want to say about it, you are more than welcome to kind of take the floor, but feel free to get in your chats about it, guys.
Yeah. I think it probably goes beyond wrestling, man. As if you've been a wrestling fan for as long as I have, there's been moments like this pretty often. And age is like that. It's like, oh, 36. Like, yeah, like a fucking pro wrestler. It really sucks to love a business so much and get invested in people and characters and things, and then stuff like this happens, because there's a lot of people that see in the chats, we see in tweets, we see everywhere, very connected to what that guy brought to the professional wrestling business. That shit doesn't matter though, man. This guy was a family man with kids and a wife and a life and a big family, lineage in the professional wrestling business. That is more important than what Slamsy did, and if the lights went out when his matches were on.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of hurt people right now that are dealing with this. So just rest in peace to the guy, man. I mean, there's not really a lot I can say it. Like, we're going to talk about the ROH show, but it's hard to really pay attention to the ROH show when a community and a bunch of people are hurting, dealing with stuff, you know? And then it was on the back. I was coming on this show to pay tribute to the hardcore legend, Terry Funk, out of Amarillo, Texas. And then we get this news and it's like, yo, pro wrestling, chill.
Yeah, for real. A very, very difficult 24 to 48 hours here. But Brand saying, prayers and loves and thoughts to Bray Wyatt's family and prayers to Eric Rowan. Man, my head went to him so fast and my heart went to him so fast, thinking about what that guy's going through right now. This all has our hearts shattered. It is. It's just a really, you hurt for Bray Wyatt being gone, but you ache for the family of Wyndham Rotunda. I think, it's more that piece of it for sure.
Yeah, because like wrestling moves on. Wrestling is going to move on. Sure. Characters are characters. Wrestlers are wrestlers. But life, those kids are going to grow up without their dad. And that's just crazy.
That is crazy. And I would just to say that, like, of anybody that was kind of unrepeatable in this world, like Bray Wyatt is one of them, right? Like, we'll move on, but like nobody had anything close to what that guy was doing, whether you liked it or not. And like PCO is over there being Frankenstein on Impact. We're going to hear about that later in the show. And there's Sting and but like he, especially in this newer generation, there's nobody putting on horror movies on television in a pro wrestling ring. And there's very few guys. Now, Eddie Kingston's one of my favorites, and I say it all the time. Like, he almost gets you so invested without the title. It's his Achilles heel. Like, he never needs a title, so they never give him one. But, like, to do so on a level of, like, it's almost silly to put him anywhere near a title the way that Bray operated, I think is truly incredible. Like, that is such a specific and special part of wrestling, and it's one that I feel like had kind of passed us by a little bit with the Undertakers and the William Merciers and things like that. But it's a very special alley in wrestling, and it is crazy. Like, wrestling moves on, but it's going to be a void because nobody else was out there even kind of coming close to doing what he did, whether it was for you or not. But let's talk about Terry Funk a little bit too, because though a less tragic situation, still definitely something we should acknowledge, and still sad, definitely leaving a void in the wrestling world. Of course, hardcore legend, All Japan, WWF and WWE, ECW, IWA, NWA, TNA. This guy left his fingerprints all over professional wrestling. But what always amazed me about Terry Funk was really carving out this hardcore style, right? Really pioneering the way that the deathmatch, I think, was kind of presented on television. But like, I'm always so impressed when deathmatch wrestlers never overpower matches with the style. Like, it's never about the style or the shock value. He was one of the most grounded, believable wrestlers, just period. Never mind with a style like this. Of course, a lot of credit goes to him for Beyond the Mat. This guy never wanted to retire. This guy had an unquenchable thirst for professional wrestling. He was always around it. Just such a special wrestler. One of the most selfless wrestlers I think that you can think of as well. Like, just the way he gave for his opponents is something that always sticks out whenever I'm watching. A lot of his matches with Ric Flair are my favorites of his. Just an incredible wrestler. And Reg, I'll let you speak to that too.
Terry Funk, like I tweeted, is the personification of a pro wrestler. When you think of pro wrestling and the promos, the characters, the gear, the entrance music, everything surrounding what makes a great pro wrestler, that's what Terry Funk was. The craziest part, I was thinking about his passing, like the craziest part, if you watch Terry Funk matches, he doesn't do like moves. There's not like spots. Most of it is just him punching the other guy. He's trying to get blood. They're brawling. Like he doesn't, like, his only move is his finisher. The step over toe hold. That's it. That's the only time you're going to get a real wrestling move. The rest of this is just the Texas man punching you in the nose until you give up. And that's what was cool about Terry Funk. And you could see his influence all throughout the wrestling business here. Like I said, he didn't do spots, but the way that he structured his match, the way that he used heat and violence and talking to his opponents and all these things to kind of push forward who he was as a pro wrestler is it's going to be something that's felt forever, just along as the lines of what Bray Wyatt did. So it's a really devastating couple of days for pro wrestling, back to back with some larger than life characters, I'd say, Kate, you know what I mean, that are now gone, that they are going to leave a void here in the wrestling business. So
for sure. And to your point, that was the beauty of Terry Funk, was it just always felt like a fight. Like, that's why I'm never surprised when Eddie Kingston's like, Terry Funk is the GOAT. He's been saying for a lot longer than today, right? But I loved when I was talking about the believability before, that part of it. Like, you really just believed he was trying to beat the hell out of the other guy and win by violence, which
yes,
that's it. That's what wrestling's supposed to be. It's supposed to feel that way. However you want to get there is fine. But yeah, he was not like I love a good, like, pure rules match. That was not that guy, but I still love what he did. And also, to your point, look at what we're talking about too, right? Like, such opposite ends of the spectrum in these losses to the wrestling community, but that's what art is supposed to be. Like, it's supposed to have completely different things. And we lost two legends at both of with the alleys that they carved out. And they're both very valuable and special and important, because if I like it, someone else might not. If I don't like it, somebody else probably will. Just like anything, just like music, just like movies, just like TV. So it's so important to have that to advance things and move them forward. And absolutely two catalysts in their respective styles. We got some more love coming in from you guys. Thank you so much. We got Taylor Cannon saying, hey, Kate and Reg, always great to see you both. Great to see you too. Taylor, thank you for always being so supportive. I saw your tweets earlier. I was speaking at Podcast Movement. What a weird day today has been. And thank you for your support always. But saying the original Eater of Worlds, Bray Wyatt, drew me in. His entrance and promos, I loved it all. Yeah, that's it's kind of crazy that Bray Wyatt is 36 and we had every rendition of him from Husky Harris up to what he was doing last time, basically, like through the Pitch Dark match and all that. his comeback this time around, I think, was just one of the coolest pieces of production that I've ever seen. Like, if you like spectacle, that is undeniably some of the coolest stuff you could ever see from a production standpoint. The Firefly Funhouse characters come to life with such an interesting and unique idea. All their names kind of alluding to historical references within this space, of course. But what stuck out to me about that was the door, the Brody Lee door, and how it was like his first time back on screen since Brody's passing at that point. And man, I just keep thinking about it. I just keep thinking about them being together and how wrong that feels that they're not together on this side of things, but how they are just meant to be together forever, I guess, in that regard. JB saying, I was so shocked when I read Triple H's post about Bray's passing. Me too, man. And I instantly shed a tear. RIP to Bray Wyatt. He was a unique guy. Definitely was. Definitely was. Which I think was really interesting because when he was out of WWE, people were like, is he going to go to Impact? Is he going to go to Japan? Is he just going to make horror movies? Is he going to like do something completely different? Because his mind was so much bigger than necessarily like an in-between the rope style of work, right? So that's why I always felt like him and WWE were a good match, was because they do spectacle extremely well.
Yeah.
And so when he came back to WWE, I was like, oh, that makes me so happy, because there's just something really fun about when wrestlers are in the environment that you're like, yeah, that's where they're supposed to be. Like, that's where they're going to thrive the most and be able to have the highest ceiling. And Bray in WWE, I think, was the perfect fit. I don't know if it gets better than that for either side of things.
Yeah, that was exactly, he couldn't do that shtick anywhere else. It like really fit in, and it really molded kind of the wrestler that he was being in WWE, because he did have these kind of out of the box ideas. I think that's the best mark he left. You got into it a little bit earlier, is that it's not about the matches in WWE, even on top. I don't care what anybody says. So he tried to do something different, Kate. There's still people we hear and see trying to present ideas that we've been doing for 50 years and rehash the 80s and the 90s. And he wasn't trying to rehash the 80s and the 90s. He was trying to do something new. He was trying to move forward. And that's probably the best thing I'll take away from his career.
I think that's a really good point. And I think there's always something special when any wrestler does this, of taking figures, and he was clearly into these larger than life figures, right? And reinventing them in your own style, or taking notes from something and adding your own recipe to it. Like, I love seeing that. It's what CM Punk does with Bret Hart matches, right? But it's just done in a different way. So he was definitely also that. Like, you could tell he was a student not only of wrestlers who came before him in this way, but also of horror movies and comic books. It seemed like him bringing Alexa Bliss into that world. She had wanted in NXT to do like a dark and twisted character. But she's said it in interviews before, just expanded her worldview as far as what she was getting inspired by, which I really loved that. I really loved that. Brett Lauder with the sticker coming in. Thank you so much for your donation. We appreciate it. Albert Pont saying, 2 legends from 2 legendary wrestling families. My heart aches. R.I.P. Wyatt and Funk. You know, that's a really good point, is that, you know, Terry Funk, Dory Funk, like we had the whole Funk family, as well as, of course, the Rotunda family. So much of the current wrestling landscape was shaped by them or their relatives. And it is really is quite something when you think about it. Brand saying, someone wrap his wife in the warmest embrace. I pray she finds peace somehow, some way. Yeah, she's a young woman who now has a completely forever changed life. Like, there's no other way to put it. Reg said it before, like, we're sad about the loss for the wrestling industry, but that is just completely incalculable to what she's going through right now. So thank you for your support there. We've got a chat that came in from Eric B. Thank you so much for donating, saying, Bray Wyatt's openness about his mental health struggles encouraged me to seek help for my mental illness. I owe my happiness and my current circumstances to Bray's bravery. What an amazing soul. You will be missed. Rest in paradise, Wyndham. That's it. There's no Jack in the Box match. There's no light outage. There's no strap match. There's no nothing that even comes close to that. Wrestlers making emotional impacts, mental health impacts on people. That's the part that's real. That's the it's real to me, damn it, guy. That's what he was talking about. We know it's scripted, right? But the emotional connection that you can have with wrestling and wrestlers is something that continues to be the most important, in my opinion, value of wrestling. I'll share this with you guys. I was listening to a Will Ospreay interview last week. He was talking about having ADHD, which I have. Very aware that I have that. He was also talking about having dyslexia. And when I heard him talking about it, I was like, son of a bitch, this sounds a lot like me. And I am getting screened for it next week, but I did a bunch of research about how if you have ADHD, you're 6 times more likely to be dyslexic. And I read a bunch, and so I'm getting screened by it for it next week. And I'm pretty sure I am. And it's just really interesting to me how wrestling continues to show up for you in ways that you would never expect. I don't think anybody got into wrestling to be like, I think this is going to make a positive impact on my mental health in a decade from now or whatever. So I really think that, gosh, so much of the value of wrestling is in things like that, is in friendships that you make, is in getting to come on here and do stuff like this, is getting to hang out with Reg under really happy circumstances most of the time. But thank you for being open about that. I think we've seen a lot more discussion about that. We've seen Eddie Kingston, of course. We've seen Drew McIntyre talk about it, Mercedes, Bianca. Like, it's incredible to see not only people being brave enough to have that vulnerability, but the impact that that can have on other people. Reg, I'll let you chime in if there's anything you want to say. I know I'm talking.
Yeah, no, that's it's important. I mean, especially for like men, and not in just in this space, in any space, that I'm happy that it's becoming more prevalent, that people are talking about it. And hearing this story is pretty amazing, that if, you know, somebody that you just enjoyed watching on TV, you know, doing this character, playing this role, could help you in your real life do something like that. That's just amazing. And it just shows kind of the mark he left on a lot of these people. It's really great to see.
It really does. And it is, it's so funny too, when you consider like the character that Bray Wyatt was up until this last run. I think there was some really cool stuff where he was literally like kind of fighting his demons, but to have a character that is like a personified devil, still being able to have moments like that where you have these pockets of vulnerability, I think is really, really cool. So it just really goes to tell you the impact extends far beyond what you could ever expect it to. Guys, we'll be taking your chats all night, and that is something that'll, I'm sure, continue on into the Impact post show. Thank you guys for sharing. Thank you guys for sharing your emotions like that, for your favorite matches, for your celebratory moments, for just being shocked and stunned with us as we try and navigate this on a stream. I don't really know what to expect. We're going to try and get into this ROH review, and the Impact review will be up after this, and we'll try. We're going to do our best tonight, but we'll obviously continue to talk about this as the night goes on. This is never a fun day. Things like this, releases, I always think about, of course, everybody else that should be thought of, families and friends and fans, but also guys like Sean and my co-hosts when we have to come on here and do this. It is such a fun job, and this part sucks. This is really, really rough.
Almost called out, you guys. Whatever the definition of calling out of work is, that almost happened. I was almost like, I was like,
deuces.
Yeah,
but I'm here. Yeah. But he's here, and we are going to dive into ROH. Feel free to get in your chats about it if you want. We're going to be pretty liberal in what we're able to pull up today. I don't think this is we are going to go out and make money stream. I think we're going to do our best to do what we can. Please also use your discretion. I know there was a lot of speculation on Sean's stream. For those of you just tuning in, because we usually do have people that kind of tune in at the top of the hour when we do start early. We were just talking about Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk's passing. It did come out earlier today. Sean had the permission of the Rotunda family to share that he passed away due to complications from COVID with his heart. Passed away of a heart attack earlier today after, unfortunately, what it was looking like was he was going to make a healthier return and making progress in the right direction, but that unfortunately was not the case today. So if you are tuning in, that's kind of what we've been talking about for the past half hour. We're going to get into the ROH part of it right now, and we're going to do our best to navigate, but we'll be talking about it all night, as I'm sure Joel and Cresta will be after. We do have to maintain our plug hygiene here. We do have to remind you to subscribe to Fightful Select. Stuff like this is never hidden behind a paywall. That's gross. That is icky. Sean never does that, but there's a whole lot of scoops that are behind the paywall on Fightful Select. So there's going to be more coming in and out of All In and All Out weekends coming up back to back. We got Payback around the corner. We've got SmackDown tomorrow, which I'm sure is going to look completely different than it does right now. But subscribe to Fightful Select. Also, contract news, everything going on with Edge. Anything Sean knows, you can know on FightfulSelect.com. So please subscribe there. Please leave a thumbs up on this video as well if you feel comfortable doing so. And we encourage you to subscribe to our Fightful YouTube channel as well if you want to be cool, like 100,000 other people who are subscribed to us. So be popular and do all of those things. There's just a couple more comments, like Inside the Machine saying he's the reason I started wrestling again. I've been hearing so much of that, which is really cool. I love hearing when people are like, oh, this is the guy that got me back into something. And him being so artistically visioned with things, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that that's such a big piece of his legacy. Dylan Barnett saying that he feels bad for younger fans of his. He was 11 when his favorite wrestler, Eddie Guerrero, passed away. Yeah, that was, a lot of people are saying this feels like that same type of loss, like that it has the same impact as Eddie's passing.
Heart issues, like it's pretty.
Yeah, it's all kind of
the same lines.
The worst deja vu for sure. Griffin Brown saying R.I.P. Bray. Thank you for your donation. Matthew Hook saying, I wish wrestling tribalism stopped even without awful news like this. Let's just all get along and like what we like. Wrestling is for everyone. Wrestling is for everyone, and Fightful is for everyone. And the only people that Fightful is not for is people that think wrestling is not for everyone. So get out of there.
Yeah.
All right, let's try and dive into ROH. We'll keep this all going the best that we can, but we start off with Dark Order, Evil Uno, Alex Reynolds, and John Silver defeating Dalton Castle and the boys. Meet Normus kicking us off with a chat saying, Dalton Castle's music hit at a great time for me. R.I.P. Wyndham Rotunda. Back-to-back days, we got kicked in the yam bag. Oh,
seriously.
Is there a better piece of commentary than kicked in the yam bag? My goodness. Shout out to Dalton Castle for having a wonderful appearance on Collision 2. I think a lot of people were very excited that he got to have his match against Jay White. But tonight, we get them eating the loss here, which I don't always love, okay? But we do see some tension with the boys. The Dark Order do hit Brent with the Ragnarok, I believe, to score the win for this. I really, really liked, and I know this is going to surprise you, Reg, because I'm not very vocal about it, but I really liked commentary on this.
First time I heard that one.
I am wearing my Happy Wrestling shirt because I felt like I needed it. I also wore it at my speaking engagement today because I was like, Happy Wrestling is what I want people to think about. But I really liked them talking about, they really put over like how underhanded the Dark Order is being and how out of character it is for how they used to be, which I liked here a lot. Like they did a really good job telling the story and what was kind of a shorter match. So I appreciated them adding that context. Not a ton to talk about here, but this would be a really fun feud if you have like a heel dark and twisty Dark Order again against Dalton Castle and the boys of all people. Not a bad way to go, Reg.
Yeah, I'm liking what is happening with the Dark Order and them being a little bit more aggressive. John Silver being more vocal, saying, I want one of the boys. I want a boy. Like, I like everything that's kind of attached to this. Dalton Castle is like, it seems like he was on a nice little trajectory, but then they kind of knocked him down a few blocks. I was liking what was going on. I like the boys, but I think he could, you know, be in the singles title run, one of those things. So interesting developments.
Yeah, I think the tension with the boys made it interesting. Like, are
Yeah.
we going to see them as a trio, or could this be the beginning of like, okay, is Dalton and the boys? Because there's been some ambiguity about that, and not in the way that I've had complaints about ROH having ambiguous stuff across the board. This is more like sometimes they're a trio because all three of them are, and sometimes it's just Dalton with their support. So maybe this is them like leading toward a Dalton is a singles guy with these two guys that are out there to help him, kind of thing. So an interesting little development there, but some good stuff. No complaints about where that's heading, especially because we got the development on the other side, right? It really feels like Dark Order is leaning into this darker side, and it's going to get really interesting with the Righteous, man. Do you think we're getting a dark and evil super group, Reg?
It feels like it. I talked a couple times on this podcast that I said that would be kind of cool, actually. So I'm pretty into whatever's going on here, because I think they're stronger as a group, like in kayfabe and not. You know what I mean? Like,
sure,
on TV, like, yo, if there's more of us, then there's more of us to really do this thing. But you know, I think just what they both represent and how they have presented the Righteous, and they've announced the Righteous is going to be on the AEW TV soon, and all these things kind of connected. I think just having them as one big group is the way to go.
Yeah, I actually kind of dig that too. I dig? I do dig Vincent.
Dig.
I do. I think what's really nice about that too is I feel like there was so much. Is Adam Page going to be the new leader?
Right.
Is this incoming person going to be? That was the conversation with Bray. Is Bray going to come in to be the new leader of Brody?
Yep.
This kind of like Dark Order getting absorbed into the Righteous doesn't feel like they're trying to replace anything in the Dark Order. It's just kind of like how the Mogul affiliates merged. We get like a similar thing where this has always been Vincent's thing, and these guys are now just kind of getting folded into the picture. So it's very, very interesting.
And that's full circle, because no one can convince me that when Bray Wyatt was the Fiend and he would come out with the head, that was Vincent's head. Like, if you go back and look at that head, he had the dreads, looked like him. That was Vincent from the Righteous's head. So this is all connected together, and nobody can convince me otherwise.
I have seen so many different variations of like whose head is it, but it looked like Vincent's head. Like it really did. And that seems like something that was very important to Bray too. Like when he was like naming Mercy was like a nod to William Mercy, or like if it was the kind of the only other guy in wrestling that was doing that kind of stuff at the same time. That's super, super fun. That's super, super fun. Guys, knock it off in the chat if you're being weird. Just stop. This is not the time or the place for that. And I told Louise to be very liberal with the block button. So you're going to get your asses timed out. So be nice. This is not the time to be an idiot. Do not test me today or any day. Just leave me alone, but especially today. We move along to Kiera Hogan and Lady Frost. We get a promo here that we're going to save for a little bit, but Lady Frost is back. Very exciting to see. Don't know if I love, because I think this is the first time we've seen her in a while. It kind of feels like a return, and her losing in a return felt a little bit weird, but this was a short match, but man, it was like a very fun and effective one, I felt like, for Kiera Hogan. She wins with the Twisting Fisherman's Buster for the win. There were a lot of Twisting Fishermen. A lot of fishermen on tonight's show. I'll put it that way. There were a lot of fishermen suplexes, busters. Everybody was going fishing tonight. Agents, you got to talk to each other because we got a lot of near falls and finishes that were fishermen. But a really nice spot in this too, where Kiera Hogan was charging Lady Frost, and she kind of just neutralized it with a really nice high kick and that cartwheel cannonball. I've said that like a couple months ago, I felt like Lady Frost was really putting everything together, where she had her athleticism and then she was kind of building it out into I'm laying my stuff in. When she was working in Mexico, it felt like, man, oh man, does she feel more complete every single time. I love seeing this. I love seeing her back in the picture here. And I love Kiera Hogan winning, Reg. Like, she's starting to feel important on the show.
Kate, remember a few weeks ago when Lady Frost, for some reason in the world, got a victory over Trish Adora for no reason, and then we were like, why is she getting this victory over Trish Adora? She statistically doesn't really get a lot of victories. And I thought, like, what was the point of that? And then she's here back in the match, and she loses against Kiera Hogan. So why did she beat Trish Adora, who you guys were building up with the win streak? This is driving me crazy. I didn't know what was going on here. It's great to see Kiera Hogan back, though. She's great. She's a very phenomenal talent. I like everything that she does in the ring. So I do want to see her getting a win streak. I was just thinking about that the whole time. Like, why did they do that thing with Lady Frost and Trish the other week?
Yeah, that's right. Now that you say that, I'm remembering. Sorry, it's been quite a day today.
Yeah.
But yes, that is kind of funny that it also just doesn't feel necessary when they have enhancement talent around to take those losses. But I also understand trying to get people paydays. But like Trish Adora is someone that I'm like, she should be on a track soon. I'll tell you what, I put out a tweet that was just like, who is the most complete total package women's wrestlers that aren't signed yet? Like free agents, Steph DeLander and Trish Adora were by far the two names that came up. So I think
Trish is on a deal, though. So
I think she might be on a deal.
Yeah, she's on a deal. So
I think Steph DeLander is like almost. I try to do those things because I like to discover new talent. And some people were like Masha Slamovich. I was like, come on, man! Like she's an impact, but like. It is
when I put out that VW 500 is coming out, and they're like, "What about Swerve? What about Athena?" I know who those people are. Why are you recommending me people who I've seen 500 times?
Are you?
Please tell me somebody I've never seen.
Reg, have you heard of this Jonathan Gresham?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
are you familiar with this fella?
I might have seen 2 or 3 or 500 of his matches. Yeah, definitely.
Agreed,
but
guys.
Thanks for the help, you guys. I wasn't trying to need help more.
I see some people are just joining us now. We talked about Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk for a good 25 minutes at the beginning of the stream or so. So if you are looking to kind of continue those conversations, feel free to continue those conversations. We can chat about it as the time goes on. We're going to try and get our traditional review in as well, though. But we did spend a lot of time talking about Bray and his significance. We don't want those conversations to stop. So please continue to share your memories, share your happy stuff. Tell us how you're feeling. Tell us that you're as shocked and saddened as we are. That's not anything that we're trying to stop as the stream goes on, but we are also trying to keep the pillar of normalcy of reviewing ROH and Impact here. So if that's what you were kind of looking for, we did start that probably about a half hour ago. So you can go back and watch some of that or just continue those conversations. But we are going to try and continue whatever this weird little day is. So we move on to Matt Sydal and Serpentico. Serpentico, man, he's got some tough luck, Reg. He's not,
to say the least,
the most winning wrestler in all of wrestling. But I actually kind of liked what this match did. Sydal won with a lightning spiral, and it looked great. This was another quick one. A lot of kind of more squashy, shorter matches. This episode did only run an hour 24. But we did have Serpentico getting a little offense here. He got a super kick and a DDT for a near fall, which I like to see. But Sydal winning is interesting because we saw him laying claim to some of those television title shot things before. I don't know if Shane Taylor wins against Joe, but I feel like he could. I feel like he really, really could. Sydal versus Shane Taylor actually sounds like a whole bunch of fun to me, to be honest. Like the way that Sydal has adapted his style to work from where he was back in the day, when he was Evan Bourne, is really cool to see. And that's a key to longevity, man. Look at Billy Gunn. My goodness. So
right. And with Samoa Joe, I'm kind of been convinced within the last couple of days that he's going to be the new real world champion. So I don't know if he'll be the TV champion for much longer.
Okay. You don't think we're getting Joey 2 belts?
I don't think so. No, it's going to be Joey 1 belt. Let's get ready to drop this ROH one.
Very fair. Very fair. I think it would be better for the product, for sure. Like, I think it would be good to have kind of an ROH guy be in that conversation. We do want to keep the Bray chats coming in. If you are able to donate super chats and humper chats, that's awesome. But as the chat's moving, I'm going to do my best to pick out stuff like this. I'll never be able to watch WWE the same again. I'm completely destroyed Bray is a hero and helps me overcome my deepest depression of my life. I'll never forget you. I love you, Bray. We had a chat earlier that was in a similar vein, and I was kind of sharing, my experiences too. There's definitely been times where wrestling has helped me. Not necessarily Bray Wyatt, but I had that's part of where my CM Punk fandom came from. I went through like a decade of trauma, and I was just kind of like coming around to this idea that you could be a survivor of it instead of a victim of it. And CM Punk was kind of coming to rise with the pipe bomb and wearing his PMA shirt. And I kind of learned what PMA was. And I was like, oh my God, that's someone that like thinks like me and feels like me. And when you see wrestlers that think and feel like you or look like you or act like you, there's something very special about the inherent, like, intimate human connection that happens with a stranger that's never met you that is on TV. Like, that is just the most incredible, valuable thing. So I'm so sorry because those losses also hurt so much. Like,
I was watching wrestling on May 23rd, 1999. I was watching a pay-per-view, and something very bad happened. And I remember the hours after that, just like being like, I've been watching Owen Hart for like 20 years or something, for a long time at this point. Not 20 years. I was like 13 or something. I've been watching Owen Hart for my entire life. Every Monday, every blah, blah, blah. And like next Monday, I'm not going to see him. The next Monday after that, not going to see him. He's gone. And so wrestling is crazy, man, because there's no other a form of entertainment like this where you're just connected to somebody every week. You see this person every single week for 52 weeks in a row, for 10 years in a row sometimes. And when moments like this happen, it's just like, it's crazy, man. Because it's like, well, you don't know these people, but it's like you really feel like you do because you just been connected to them for so long.
For sure. I was really, really rocked by Chris Cornell's death because I was just so connected to his music and Soundgarden. It felt like I lost a family member. But it is so different with wrestling because it is someone that is on your television in a weekly episodic way, in a way that's not seasons or written, and it's not who they are, but it's partly who they are. Like there is nothing like it. There is absolutely nothing like it. We discovered wrestling through the Wyatt Shield feud. That's probably my favorite. That's my favorite Bray Wyatt stuff. I think is that 6-man and that feud. Just for me, that's my shit. And following Wyndham beyond his characters and seeing a lot of my interests and struggles in him, this one is hard. Yeah, when you feel like that guy knows what I've gone through, man.
Anytime you can relate.
That's a powerful thing.
Somebody's big, a larger than life character on TV, the world champion, sometimes all these things, and you feel like you can. That person's like me. It's like you can't replicate that anything else, man. It's just like this day has been very eye opening to how much of an impact he really had. Because like somebody was being rude on my tweet and being like, why are you saying something nice about Bray? You blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I was talking about his wrestling character not having good wrestling match. That doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. And most of it was a bit because like you guys are dumb and it like it kept expanding forever. Like I don't want like beyond that, I don't want this to happen to somebody that I don't like their wrestling matches. So let's start there.
Yeah. You don't want that to happen to like anyone, right?
Come on, dude. Like, oh yeah, I don't like your art. So no, come on, relax here. When people were, oh my God, that day was crazy that I put that out and they came for me. That's when I was like, okay, maybe these people really do like this guy. And then that on top of what's happening today is like, wow, this guy really left a mark in this wrestling business. Like it probably didn't seem as big, I'm sure, for him for a lot of the time, but like the way that he touched so many people is really has been understated, I think.
I agree. I think there were a lot of people grasped how special he was in his creativity and his vision and how much it seemed like he cared. I think what has been brought to light today and kind of the more recent run is things like we're hearing like today with about his mental health. Like this last run had so much genuine vulnerability built into it, and like seeing him fight his personified demons for parts of this, the promos he was giving were so different, and like There was just a different appeal with him this last time around. Before, like, it did feel like it, for me, got a little truncated. But, like, his promos talking about his struggles and talking about the kid that he was in school and all these things, like, I think there was a more human connective tissue than there was in, say, like, The Fiend or some of those earlier renditions. So a lot of that is coming out tonight. A lot of that is coming out of, man, he said a lot of words that I really needed to hear in this kind of last run, which is really special. And, just the most awful day today, but I'm so glad that we got the work that we did from him for reasons like that. Ugh, this sucks. Been saying the world was and truly forever in his hands. May the fireflies lead him to eternal peace. Yes, may he be following the Buzzards right over to Brody Lee. That's all I keep thinking about. Happy Rachel Kate says, really hoping for a 10-bell salute in the coming days. I think that is definitely warranted. I think we need that moment as a community to grieve, just like we did for Eddie. Call your people, guys. Yeah. Him being my age is a very weird thing, not to make it about myself, but it's always like, man, they're so young. And then you're like, they're my age is a weird thing. And to think about him being married with 4 kids is just, that's where my head goes first.
Yeah, as soon as that number comes out and you're like, wait, that's me. It's
that's
like
me.
that. Yeah, it's
like
like
it could be any of us thing becomes very real.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that's what makes it even crazier is that it's so many young people. Just like it's like I said, it's been a wrestling thing for a while. Like some of my favorites growing up are 38, 35 years old of heart issues and stuff like that. So it's so fucking devastating that it's continuing to happen, because I thought that by this time, like wrestling's so different. Undertaker came and complained about wrestlers playing video games in their locker room and eating sandwiches instead of doing cocaine and shooting people. And I thought, we had gotten past this, but it's like, it's still life. I think that's the most important thing. There's still humans behind this that stuff like this happens to.
Yeah, I think it's so funny. I can't remember who it was, but I heard someone saying like 80s wrestlers working the indies would laugh at us knowing that like the indies are full of like straight edge vegans that are advocating for representation. Like it's a very, very different world right now than it was then. And they were like, I was just trying to pay for my cocaine that I was doing the same night. Like
no cocaine back here. They're like reading books together. Somebody brought their PlayStation to the thing. Like,
exactly.
Way different.
So you're right in that it feels like we were out ahead of that, but I think that's rough too. That like this is a COVID complication with heart issues. We saw that Keith Lee was going through that, right? So he made a recovery. Thankfully, it looked like Bray was headed in that direction. That unfortunately was not the case. Main pest guy, thankfully not being a pest right now. I appreciate it. Saying only superstar to have a story last for years. No superstar has done this.
True.
WWE held Bray Wyatt down. That I agree with a little bit too. Prayers to the family, R.I.P. Bray. Yeah, when you think of like, there was no like, oh, you were the yes guy, and then you were the planet's champion. You're a completely different guy, because Bray's vision had to come to fruition so specifically and in such full force. You couldn't just be like, we're gonna reboot that guy. They did when he came back, and there were certainly different renditions of him, but they were all so full blown that they were just like very, very incredible chapters. Yeah,
expounding on what Main Pest Guy said, he wasn't the only one that had a story last for years. Sometimes he was the only one in the whole company with the story. Like it was just a bunch of people doing nothing, but Bray's like thing that he was doing like had some kind of thing to it. So there was times when he was the only story there. Like that's how much of a role he played, and that's how deeply he tried to think on his character and stuff.
Agreed. I always appreciate that too. It feels like MJF has that, and there's some other people that I'm just not pulling names up of, but like that attention to detail, like the caring on such a granular level. Kevin Owens is certainly that way.
Yeah,
that guy like on the most granular level really, really, really cares. I think that about Eddie Kingston, like how in the boat he gets with every detail of the stories he's telling. Malachi Black certainly, right? Like anything in Spooky World is going to have an incredibly clear and specific vision. Otherwise, kind of does fall apart. We also unfortunately saw that too. But I go back to, even when things don't work, if they don't work because you tried something really risky and big, that's so much more palatable to me than I didn't really care. I just do cool stuff in the ring sometimes. It's like, not.
Yeah, I'd rather you crash and burn than just like be boring and like, I guess I'll do this regular thing that everybody else does, you know?
For sure. And it like
because I don't remember it. Like, I remember Bray and Seth Rollins with the big hammer. Like, that was wild, but I'm going to remember it. I don't remember anything else from that dumb show. You know what I mean? But I do remember that ridiculous hammer. So
there you go. Yeah, I think creative risk is so important. And I think that always sounded like the tension or whatever that there was he didn't want to compromise that. He didn't want to share that. And I think that's called having pride as an artist. And I think that's really, really cool.
He sounds like he wasn't just taking the dumb ideas that Vince was giving to him. He was like trying to fix them. And they're like, oh, we just want you to do these dumb things.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, no. And he also didn't seem like the kind of guy that was like, all right. About anything, which I think is good. I like it when artists have pride in their art. That's
should.
To me. There's no like smooth segues tonight, guys. There just isn't. Like I cannot smoothly throw to Lexi Nair telling Stokely Hathaway that nobody respects him backstage. There's no way for me to do it. But this is something that happened on tonight's episode of ROH. He's talking about his tag team victory with Samoa Joe and noting his respect for Samoa Joe. And Lexi says, I don't think anybody really respects you here. More fun Stokely Hathaway shenanigans. Any thoughts on this?
Him leaving saying, oh, sorry, I thought I was going to try to take you to TGI Fridays. Tony Khan left his card out. And like Tyler Perry, I could do bad all by myself. He just like the way that he ended it to put the little stamp on it was like, Stokely, he's that guy. There's nobody that could do it like Stokely here, honestly.
He is, and he did that in NXT World too, and I always really loved it because NXT's a tough little world to get things like that in, but he was always putting little buttons on things at the end of his segments, and it's fun because it's memorable and it's something that you get to take away with you. But we get a match of the Laylas coming up next. Here we get Layla Hirsch versus Layla Gray, and Layla Hirsch, she got her on her knees, man. She got Layla Hirsch hitting a rough back suplex. Listen, it's the song, Reg.
What's that?
Layla got me on my knees. She got her in an arm bar, actually. But we get to see Layla Hirsch continuing to dominate here, which is awesome. Maria Kanellis continuing to scout her out and push things along. Layla Gray is very new, and it shows up in ring a little bit. Like, she's still a little bit rougher around the edges, in my opinion, but tons of charisma. I feel like her coming in as kind of that accessory baddie was a really, really good spot for her because she has so much upside in
respectfully.
Her that was one of the most disrespectful respectfullys I've ever heard, and I love it. Like, whoo, I'm saying respectfully, but what I mean
respectfully, brother.
Whoo, not that. Kingslayer sharing similar sentiments, saying that's the emoji for Layla Gray.
Just like, whoo, yeah.
Everybody thirsting over her tonight. See, we get to have fun here too. We get to have fun here. So she has tremendous assets in a lot of ways, is I guess what we're saying over here. But this is good. We're continuing to build Layla Hirsch. I like that our women's division, despite having an incredibly dominant champion, feels like there's a lot of contenders coming for her. We got good stuff with Diamante, Layla Hirsch. I think Trish Adora is going to get back on track. I think they're just going to find some stuff for her. Obviously with Billy Starks, we have a whole story brewing there.
Starks, Kiera,
had that
Lady Frost sometimes. I don't know.
Lady Frost when they feel like heating up the Ice Queen. But I think it's good. It's really starting to feel like it's taking shape, and for such a dominant champion to feel like there's multiple credible threats, that's hard to accomplish, Reg. So
it is, especially we came on this show many times being like, who's Athena gonna have to beat up? And now she has some contenders to beat up, some really good contenders too, which is the best part about it, because like moving forward here the next couple months, we don't know who's going to kind of emerge as the top one, and that's going to be interesting because all the women that you've described are like in a good place, and and this building and potentially having a match with Athena, be it either any one of them, is going to be great.
Agreed. And I feel like Layla Hirsch is she feels like ROH when I think of like the ROH brand. Like that makes me really happy. So I hope for her continued success. I'm so glad she's back. Long live little Lady Taz. I love this woman. Keep it going. Armbar looked great. I will take it. I think that's why Zack Sabre Jr. had to win with the Rings of Saturn before. He was like, someone already took my armbar and it looked as good as mine. I got to find something else.
So, smart man.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing out there, that ZSJ. But before we get to ZSJ, we've got some things to cover. Guys, feel free to get in your super chats and your humper chats. I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat to pull up Bray Wyatt memories and moments and emotional connectivity that we can continue to talk about. To guarantee that yours is read, feel free to send in super chats and humper chats, though I'm kind of got quite a command station going with a lot of things, and I'm in a hotel room because I was speaking earlier today at a podcast conference. So kind of under-resourced, but doing my best to navigate here as we talk about this very weird and tragic day, and also try to bake in your ROH review along with that. And we go backstage again to Lexi Nair, who is with Prince Nana in the Mogul Embassy. They're defending their titles next week against, you guessed it, Action Andretti, Darius Martin, and another black guy. The same black guy we saw last week.
I wish I had a hat to throw in the air because this is getting ridiculous, you guys.
You could throw your hat in the ring, Reg, because you fit the one
at this point.
Right.
Black, that's him. He's in. Get in the ring, dude.
Reg,
can you flip? It has to be black and flips.
That's it, yeah. But you love spot food, so maybe that could be.
I will fit in, honestly. It will work. I mean,
Reg is gonna walk the ropes. It's gonna be amazing.
But yeah, hilarious, you guys. Like, it has to be a bit at this point. There's no way it's not a bit at this point.
I love me some Prince Nana. I think he is one of the best managers at striking the balance of being wildly entertaining and charismatic, but the focus being on the people in the ring at all times. Like it's really its own art form. And he's
like
really,
he's
really,
over
really good
the
at
top. It's like a controlled over the top. Like he's Nana 100%, but it's so like it's not taking away from the act. It's adding to the act.
He knows when to put his foot on the gas with it, especially while matches are going on. I'm always very, very impressed when people are able to do that. I did not love this promo though, because he was like, everybody who comes for us, we beat. And I'm like, usually it's 2/3 of you. Not his fault.
And honestly, like if we went back through the history, it's probably like Darius Martin and Action Andretti most of the time, and just like another person in there. So
and their black friend.
I don't know. Like you beat up all the black guys pretty bad, but I don't know.
Oh man, Frantic World. I'm not going to read that chat because I don't feel like it's mine to read.
Come on, Reg. TK, give Reg Team Light Skin on ROH. LOL with Will Washington as manager. Yes, that's what we all want, Frantic World. I know it.
Nobody wants it more than him, I'm sure. Moving along, we get Blake Christian and Brandon Cutler with Colt Cabana. Nice to see this blood back there. Always nice.
Interesting developments here. Yep.
Interesting little development knowing the recording schedule. Interesting. Some good stuff here. Blake Christian looking great in this, honestly. Like I felt like sometimes it's so automatic how good and athletic he is that it almost doesn't stand out in some ways. But tonight, just everything looks so crisp and popped right off the screen. He wins with a handspring kick before locking in that springboard for 50 for the win. I also really liked earlier in this, we got a Fosbury flop from him. Cutler looked good in this too, of getting out of the way of the first springboard and hitting that Michinoku driver for the near fall. Couple Michinoku drivers today, a couple of fisherman suplexes. This is what I'm saying. ZSJ was like, we can't also have a couple of arm bars. We can't keep going to the same wells all at the same time. But this was exactly the purpose it should have served to keep Blake Christian moving along here. But I thought he looked great tonight. What did you think?
Yeah, it's always going to be so interesting to me because if you guys don't know, currently Blake Christian is the GCW World Champion. So to see the GCW World Champion just on this Ring of Honor show against Brandon Cutler is always like, that's so funny. And like, I can't think of a time in history like if the ECW champ was on Raw against like I don't know, the Brooklyn Brawler or something, you'd be like, why is this happening? What's going on here? But he's still like dominant as this champ. It's just like, it's crazy how these things happening. But it's great to see Blake Christian. I think he's a great representation of what the spirit of ROH is. And like, you need more guys like him to bring the spot foo. That's it.
That's it. White guy spot foo is there for you too.
Listen,
all right? It's not all luchadors.
I don't discriminate. If you can flip, you can be white, black, Mexican, Chinese, whatever. I'm in. Just flip. That's how we unite the country. It's just like, everybody just flip, you guys. Come on.
There it is. We're bringing everybody together. We're a melting pot of flippy do. I think it's special. Well, Reg, we get Lexi Nair again backstage.
He's back.
It's a busy gal.
It's like Renee last night on the Dynamite. Just like, after every segment, here's Renee. After every segment, here's Lexi.
My goodness, Renee just like getting squatted with Chris Statlander. Crazy. My God, my goodness. People in the chat, please be normal. Thank you, Luis, who already just took care of what I was going to go take care of, I think.
Good.
Anyway, we get Lexi backstage with Tony Nese and Smart Mark. Really feels like Josh Woods has fully splintered off. Like, it wasn't like a violent breakage in the relationship, but they definitely seem to have gone separate ways, which I like and is good. But we get them complaining to Jerry Lynn that Nese didn't want to wrestle and instead wanted to do group training because there was a coworker who was standing right by drinking soda, which, Reg, has sugar in it. I don't know if you know.
And it'll kill you.
But that's right. And it will. This is fun. I kind of like Tony Nese being on his own doing this. I don't think this is something that needed to have a stable around it. Paired with Smart Mark is just fine for me, but this is fun. Like, he's there to serve his role, and this is a fun way to get there. Any thoughts on our little backstage here?
Yeah, I like Tony Nese doing this just because it gives them something to do. If he's just they're gonna give him a little spot on the show to get this little personal trainer thing off, I'm all for it. It's funny, it's fun. He needs something to do. Not many people on the show have any kind of direction or characters or anything. So if he could be this character and do his thing, I'm all for it.
Agreed. Guys, feel free to get super chats and humper chats, and I am trying to pull up things like this. I don't feel comfortable kind of charging for moments like this, but Rusty Simpson saying, I never knew that a wrestler would make me cry when I heard they were gone. It happened today. He had a mind that I felt understood the madness that we can feel trapped inside of our heads. He understood me. If that last sentence ain't it, I don't know what is.
Thank you, Rusty.
Thank you, Rusty, for sharing that. We're hearing a lot of that tonight. And I got to say, and not to be like whatever, but it's really nice to hear men feeling comfortable in general talking about this stuff, but also at Fightful, because that's something that like we try to be able to create a space for, is that you guys feel comfortable sharing stuff like that.
And it's crazy out here, you guys. Like, life is nuts. So you got to express it. Do not hold it in. It's crazy outside. To open your phone, there's all kind of wild shit going on outside. I live in Oakland, California. You open the door, there's all kinds of crazy shit going on outside. So you have to find a way to let it out.
You do have to find a way
healthy ways to let it out, because
that's an important part. Yeah. Let it out like emotionally and reasonably. Is what we aim for. This has been hard, man. Like the SJ Briscoe in the same year is a tough one. It's a tough one.
Damn, that was this year. That seems like so long ago.
It was January. That was January, and the next week was.
I went to the show the next day, I think. Yeah, because they had Dynamite like the next day because Mark Briscoe was there, right?
Yeah, well, it was a Tuesday, I remember, because I was doing my Silly Tuesday stuff, and me and Alex like had costumes planned out and whatever weird things we normally do. We were like, this is different. I think it was right after New Year's.
It was.
Yeah, it was shortly after the New Year.
God, man.
It was tough.
Wrestling is starting to be like hip hop out here, dude. I can't. Most of my favorite things, everybody's like, I was like, you got to give me a break on one side, you guys. Come on.
I too, and like that. I mean, car accident, heart related to COVID. Like, it's just tough. It's just tough, and these days are never fun. But the best way to get through it is together. And I really do think being able to come and share how you're feeling and memories and moments and matches and stuff is the best way, because I don't know, I think it's important to not be alone when stuff like this happens. So that's why we're pressing forward the best we can with this post show tonight and in general. Cresta and Joel are going to come on after. They're free to do things however they want it. There's not a right or a wrong way to kind of proceed with this. I'm sure that we'll be talking about Bray all night, but they're going to try and get their Impact review in too, from my understanding. You know, when these things happen, it's always a, do we stream, don't we stream? Do we review the show? Do we not review the show? What's the proper way to go about it? And we just do the best we can, because there's not a proper way to go about it. There's really not. Like, there's nothing you can do to A, prepare for it, especially a couple hours beforehand, and B, just to there's never going to be an adequate way to respond. So all we can do is the best that we can do. And that is a show where we talk about it all night and throw in very awkward segues to things like this. The Renegades.
There it is.
Athena and Billy. We got a promo earlier that was really fun. I loved commentary on this too, talking about, is she a minion? Are they mortal enemies? What is the relationship here? Was super, super fun. Athena got them t-shirts though, which I think is a sign of friendship and love. She wanted to clear the air between Lexi and Billy. I loved this promo. I thought it was great. And do you have anything you want to say about it before the match?
I like Athena playing the big sis role, the mean big sis bully role, but I think it shows kind of range, and Billy Stark's kind of being like along for the ride, but skeptical, but also like, this is really cool. Like, I mean, if I'm gonna be on this side, not getting punched in the face by her, I think this is a good space to exist in.
Agreed. I think this is good. And it's also kind of fun because she's been so dominant and such an ass kicker, to also see her kind of have this likable side as fun.
Yes, exactly.
I really, really dig that. But we got Meat Norma sending support our way. Thank you. Saying Meat loves all you people, even vegans. Thank you. It's very difficult to be vegan on the road.
I bet.
Very difficult, especially at like a podcast conference when there's free donuts and there's free cake and pizza and all these things, and I'm just like holding on for dear life.
Yeah, Brian Danielson talks in like being a vegan and like being on the road, and like all the shows let out at 10, 11 o'clock. You can't, no vegan places, or they close at 6 o'clock sometimes. You know what I mean?
And I gotta be honest, like there's only so many like Beyond Burgers that you can get.
Exactly,
like,
right.
There's one option on every menu, and it's a Beyond or an Impossible Burger, and
or a black bean burger if you're at like a restaurant.
But like if you're lucky, like honestly. So we're making it through, but I was like, oh, my life looks different now. Okay, got it. Is anyone carrying a show the way Athena is running ROH? Nope. Also, shout out to Lexi doing Renee level work. We were just kind of talking about that. So thank you for chatting in about that, because I agree. Very, 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 very cool. And I like to see that, because I think Lexi's great. And
she's good.
Lexi and Dasha were holding it down kind of before Renee came in. I think Renee is one of the best to ever do it, so it's certainly not a slight to them. But Renee kind of came in and was just like everywhere, and she kind of should be. Like she's worth that investment. But it's very nice to see Dasha and Lexi kind of now finding their own paths. And
like, I'm sure that's probably frustrating for them when like Tony Khan's like, the game is like, Renee will do 25 interviews today.
And like, you can't even argue with it. She's great.
Because she's going to kill all 25. It's going to be great. 25 great times. And you're like, wow, all right.
She's going to be like looking like an angel. It's so hard. But also that's a great opportunity, because like, who more would you want to learn from, right? Like, God, she's probably the best that's done that role. But it is very nice. It's very nice to see Lexi kind of carving out her niche in this little world. So we flip into the tag match, which I thought was really, 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 really good. I liked a lot here, but this ultimately ends in what I thought was a very fun way. We get Starks tagging in as Athena is jumped and hitting the Swanton bomb on, I forget which Renegade. I think Charlotte. I got a 50-50 chance. I can't remember. But Athena's reaction is everything. She is so happy that they won, so unhappy she didn't get the pin, and then she just grabs the other Renegade, I think it was Robin, and beats the hell out of her, which I just thought was very fun. Now, normally I have this complaint. the tag team should always beat two singles wrestlers, especially ones that don't get along. And I do have that complaint here. Yep. If it's two wrestlers that don't even get along,
yes,
the proper tag team should win. However, I almost want to let it slide. I can't, because that's just wrestling basics.
No, you got to hold on to that forever. I hate that shit too. I hate it so much. Because it's like you're downplaying this tag team of like, well, and it's even worse when it feels like one person beat them too. It's like, you guys do not do this. Why are you doing
this? So the only place where I let things slide a little bit is Athena is so dominant.
Yes.
And
that she might be able to beat up two people, you know?
Yes. So. And I do think like there aren't any other tag teams really right now in ROH. So you kind of don't lose anything by having them lose, because it's not like there's a tag team division and they're having tag matches every week. Part of our complaint is like, hey, they're a tag team and they keep having these singles matches, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
From like the ecosystem standpoint, it doesn't bug me as much, because I think it did cool stuff with the story with Athena and Billy. But from the proper wrestling fan in me, it feels like two singles people, especially ones that don't get along, should not be beating an established tag team, your only tag team around, in this way, kind of. What were your thoughts on the match? And do you agree with me?
Agreed. Big agreed. And no, honestly, just because I like the Renegade Twins, I think that you can't downplay them at any moment. Like anytime you have the opportunity to actually put them in a tag match, probably should have them win. Like if you don't want them to win, don't put them in the tag match. Then like there has to be some moments where you establish that. And I think I like the angle, so it's like I'm like 50-50 on it, because I like what Athena and Starks are doing. So I'm like, but then it's also the same thing that you're saying, like you shouldn't downplay this tag team just for this angle, like you guys are about to do on Wembley when you have Adam Cole and MJF win the damn ROH Tag Team Championships just to play the background to their angle.
No, I think it's going to be the opposite. I think they're going to have some tension in that tag match, and that's going to lead to them no longer being friends. But we've got some more chats that I want to pull up here. We have Ricardo chiming in. Ricardo's always so wonderful to us, saying, the Fiend came around at a time where I was lost and floundering. He was a light in my sadness. Gosh, we're hearing a lot of that today, man. And with every iteration of Bray, too, which is really special. Like, the Fiend, a lot of people liked kind of the Wyatt family proper. A lot of people liked his last run. So it's just cool how many ways people were able to connect with this guy. It really is. It's really special when every iteration has something different for everybody. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's I feel like a grandpa, because when people are like, oh, I was 14 when I discovered Bray Wyatt, I'm like, okay, I'm 100 years old. But to know that he influenced a lot younger generation than us grandparents over here, Kate, it's been really cool to see, you know?
I remember back when CM Punk faced The Undertaker. Like, that's how I feel.
Exactly, yes, exactly.
That's how I feel, man, but I'm with you. Carlos saying he's still in shock. So are we. It's it wasn't that long ago that Sean had reported that things were headed in the right direction. So that's what's hard. That's
Bill and I
really
found out about it on Ask Rhapsody. Somebody in the chat was like, hey, Bray Wyatt. And we were like, what? So we're just like looking at this news on the I've been podcasting the whole time, so I still really haven't like taken it in.
Yeah, you didn't even have a break.
I haven't processed it like, damn, Bray Wyatt, you know, because I've just been like talking about it. It's crazy.
Yes, and there were a couple of people I know. The Wrestle Purist crew was live, like do it all in previews and stuff. It's always extremely jarring to hear about in general, but when you're on air too, it's like, also, is that even real when it's someone that's like that young and stuff? You're like, is somebody being a jerk in the chat? Like,
like, why are you saying that right now? That's so dumb and random. And then you go and you're like, oh, that's
my
not
God,
dumb
it was
and
real.
random.
Yeah, so I'm with you. But we're hearing some really wonderful memories and moments like Hector's here saying, my favorite memory despite him losing was Mania 30 at New Orleans. Immediately you could feel his aura and felt like he was a star more than when he was Husky Harris.
Yeah.
One of the most rewarding things is getting to see wrestlers tap into like themselves. I feel like kind of people start with, especially in WWE, like start with archetypes and they find their way to the thing that's unique about them as an artist. And when you have something as highly creative and risky as Husky Harris, Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, that process is wild to watch in real time. You see it like I see it in NXT because I'm covering it a lot, right? Like Tiffany Stratton started as a daddy's girl tennis player, gymnast, and now she's worked her way into this like really kind of fun alternate version of that.
Right.
And Bray just had such an extensive and complex vision for everything he did. Watching that process unfold from Husky Harris to what he became is really incredible.
You never really see, it's rare in pro wrestling to see a wrestler go so hard into a new character. Like you usually like they'll have a character, then they switch, and you're like, okay, that's just like in a little extension. Like, no, he's going to come in as a new character that's going to be 100% a 180 flip from what he is now. And it's like, that's really, it's a talent to do in the wrestling business because the wrestling fans don't allow people to even do things like that. That's why it's not so prevalent. And he was able to just come in and just drop a new character, add some crazy stuff to it, and get people behind it. It's very talented.
It's true. That's a very good point. We got Corey chiming in saying, Bray and the Fiend spoke to people who felt downtrodden and gave inspiration to keep moving forward. These aspirations he inspired us to follow were our own Buzzards. I love that. I love that. It is incredible how accessible he made things through very inaccessible roadblocks. Like there's his promo style was so elusive and weird, but not in like an Ultimate Warrior way. I feel like I think you knew what he was talking about most of the time.
Yeah.
His presentation was so interesting and big and explosive and complex is probably a good word that I used before. Larger than life, certainly. And it's just cool to be hearing about how so many people entered the world through different versions of him is really cool. Is really, really cool.
Yeah.
We are going to move along to an ROH Proving Ground match with Ryan Nemeth. This is really, really kind of fun, to be honest.
The promo,
the promo was great, and it was just nice to see Claudio around. Like, I like when my champion is on TV, but I also liked him kind of saying, like, even when I'm not around, I'm never really gone. Like, fun.
That was kind of like the end the promo when Claudio was saying that line. It kind of felt like a deadbeat dad type of thing of like. Even when I'm not around, I'm not around. I come one time a year and I bring presents. Like, dude, just come all the time. Stop lying to me. Why are you saying this?
That's what she said. We get Claudio and Ryan Nemeth saying that he's basically ready for anyone or anything all the time. He's the Hollywood hunk. He gets a nice hunk chant going. He'll face anybody, even if it's the world champion. And then Claudio comes out and Ryan Nemeth is like, I
wasn't talking
didn't think you were gonna be here tonight. You're not really here all that much, and I'm good. I don't want any of that. So I do like that he was like, well, I don't really I have a problem with you specifically, even though I basically laid out an open challenge. Like, I don't have heat with you. Like, we're good. I thought that was really, really fun. And then Claudio just kind of swings him a million times and delivers some nasty uppercuts and wins. I liked it. I thought that was really fun. Just nice to see Claudio around on the product. And man, I miss him because he's damn good. And I like seeing him in singles competition, Reg.
Yeah, this was good to see him kind of being here, being the ROH world champion, kind of getting over like the thing we're talking about. Even if I'm not here, I'm always here. And if he's going to come in for any amount of time and swing somebody, that's all we really want to see. I'm all in. That's it. That's all I want to see. You came in and swang and you said that you're the man. You look great while doing it. Good. Victory.
Yeah, my only thing is I liked when he turned heel and stopped using the swing because everybody loves it. So he's a heel and he's out here doing things this whole match basically was just to pop the crowd. And he's still supposed to be. That's picking nits though. This was a whole bunch of fun, and it's not by doing the swing he looks less.
No, but I get it though.
Because you like it. It's a nasty, nasty, nasty move. So he's still beating the hell out of someone. That's just picking nits. But that's kind of what we are here to do a little bit.
Yep.
So we move along to our main event. It's a weird day when even I am kind of spaced out on a Zack Sabre Jr. match. I had a really hard time staying focused, but what I did pick up was commentary noting that Metalik would face the winner of tonight's main event next week for the NJPW World TV title. I don't know if I've mentioned this. I'm a big Zack Sabre Jr. fan.
Big fan.
I've been just loving this title reign. I had said before that, like, it's funny that he's like a little punk guy because this feels like the Clash self-title to me because it's like reinventing kind of, or like bringing back all these old flavors of styles that came before him and packaging it in this really cool leading edge way with like a very specific message. And much like the Clash's self-titled album, Americans aren't going to pick up on it until the next one. They won't pick up on it till London Calling. That's just the way it works. But I digress. This was fun from what I was able to kind of retain. This was a very weird episode for me to.
Honestly, the whole show, I was just like in and out of it, kind of, Yeah,
it's hard to. Something much bigger than wrestling was happening, so it was hard, and especially with something so technical. But from what I was kind of grasping, I liked the finish. I liked the Rings of Saturn finish, and I also just liked that Christopher Daniels. This isn't his first rodeo, and this felt much more like a cerebral chess match than, say, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Action Andretti or Zack Sabre Jr. versus Jeff Cobb is like a how do I beat this absolute refrigerator of a human being, right? This just felt like two guys playing cerebral wrestling chess, and that's a really fun story to have unfold with someone who's as veteran as Christopher Daniels. We had also seen them in the ring before together, so there's kind of like a nice nod to the angle that came before it, even though Matt Sydal and Samoa Joe weren't involved in this. Like, they at least had something to sort of build off of here, but this was great. This was a really fun main event. Always happy to see ZSJ on my screen. A little perplexed that he's not announced for Wembley or going to be at Wembley, it appears. That's kind of a bummer.
What? Yeah, I don't really understand. There's a couple of those head scratches. Like, you don't have to feature all the UK talent, but like, if Zack Sabre Jr. is going to be available, maybe put him on the show. I mean, he could not be available. We don't really know. We could be making assumptions, but
he's got the Rev Pro show the day before, though, and so does Will Ospreay. I'm like, if Will Ospreay can do it, the technical guy can do it. Come on.
Kate's making points here. Will Ospreay and Zack Sabre Jr. have been in the G1, so they could do back-to-back wrestling days. No problem here. But we are being selfish and privileged because we got to see Zack Sabre Jr. on our TV screen, and we should be happy about that. Here he is in all his glory against ROH legend Christopher Daniels. And this is the Zack Sabre Jr. that you want. It's just no frills, no nothing. He's going to go in here, try to tap Chris Daniels out, and he's going to try to look really cool doing it. It's like just exactly what you would want. I hope we continue to see more Zack Sabre Jr. We are, because he won the match. We're going to see him next week against Metalik. But anytime we get this kind of run when he's not cooking in New Japan is great.
I agree. I think this is fun. I think this is how his New Japan title is kind of how I wish the international title would get used in AEW, where it's like showing up on different brands all the time. I think it's a really healthy thing for New Japan. Like, I think having some English-speaking champions from a brand perspective is just something that's helpful, and ones that are going to work in other countries, because it just kind of expands the scope. And now that we're kind of, I mean, I really can't say out of COVID on today for all days, but like, we are, at least from a perspective of the borders are open. I think it's really good, because I feel like New Japan is its best recruitment tool when it's just doing what it does really, really well. And because they don't have weekly episodic television, sending your champions out to defend in other places is a really, really, really helpful like recruitment mechanism for it. So very cool him showing up here. Wish he was showing up at Wembley. There's an entire 0 hour sitting right there. So still will always be pushing the Zack Sabre Jr. agenda, but a fun main event. And I'm very excited to see what happens with Metalik next Metal Week.
There it is.
See, it was a sad day, but we still got punts. All right, we're doing our best. JW Pringle saying thank you, Kate and Red, for being here with us and for us during these hard times. We fans are a small family and have to be there for one another. R.I.P. Bray. May the light of the fireflies light your way home. That's very beautifully said. It is. It's part of the reason that I think it was good that we forge ahead and do these streams, is to be able to do stuff like this, to
Right.
talk about how we're feeling and sharing memories and matches and moments. And Bray was certainly like created as many memorable ones as you can in such a short span. So thank you guys for hanging in there with us. Today was not a day where I wanted to go watch wrestling after this happened.
No,
and
I didn't.
Yeah, and it's as much as we're guiding the ship here, having you guys in the chat makes it a whole heck of a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to turn it over to Cresta and Joel. I'm actually I'm always excited to see Cresta, but I'm even excited to see Joel because I got to go to Multiverse on Sunday. I got to see some Impact talent live, which was super, super fun. Very cool to see that Multiverse show. I got to tell you, Julia live, special woman. My God. Calling for her and Deanna for a singles match for sure, but a whole bunch of fun. How are you guys holding up? How we doing?
What a shitty day. I think I can say that. I can say that.
Yeah.
I heard you guys coming over when I had just tuned in talking about it, and I was telling someone earlier, I feel really privileged that I got into wrestling when I did, because as much as people like to say, well, this is cinema, what Bray Wyatt did and what I had the privilege to witness was absolute art. And I'm 36. I know I joke and say I'm 9,000 years old, but I'm 36. And it's like, dude, may the Fireflies glide his way, because that's out of order. I feel so bad for his family. I'm not gonna drag too much on it. So how are you, Joel?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. We are apparently, a lot of us are of the same age, and for me, I'm a dad, and he is also a father. Was a father, and it's tough, man. I got that news as I was just kind of winding my kid down for bed, and hug him extra tight, and it's all you can do. It sucks. It especially sucks when a couple of weeks ago, Fightful Select broke the news that he was working towards a potential return. And we all got excited, and we all started thinking what could happen next. And then it all just kind of comes, the ideas just get completely taken and everything's gone. And that makes it extra shitty. That makes it extra hard to swallow as a fan. And it sucks. And it does. And it makes a night like this much more difficult. And when we talk about wrestling, as much as we all do on camera for a living, or at least half a living, whatever it is, it definitely changes the way you want to talk about it. I'm supposed to go to the Impact CNE presser tomorrow, and I'm excited. I will be excited again tomorrow, but like right now, I'm just like, man, everything kind of sucks.
Yeah,
it does. And even just as far as the show goes, I said, you run things however you want, but it's been a very, we talked a lot about it up front because we actually had some extra time today. Like it was just a short episode of ROH. And
what was that about?
Yeah, I'm surprised you guys are done.
Yeah, sort of.
Not to shift gears, but I'm surprised you guys are done.
But
we're not going to complain about it. We're happy.
Not bad about it. Baked in some extra time too to leave room to talk about that and Terry Funk. My goodness. So
yeah.
But
let me before I jump out of here, let me get my plug in. If you guys are going to be at Starcast, the greatest podcast in the world, Grapsity Podcast is going to be live. Philip Lindsay, Righteous Reg,
this guy
William Washington.
Not on a podcast with a different co-host.
This is not a podcast right now that we're talking on. This is just me talking into the air. Some people are listening. I'm kidding. Yes, catch Grapsity live at Starcast. It's going to be
Reg's
fun.
Second best podcast ever.
It's going to be a great adventure. There might be spaghetti if you bring some with you along there, because they're not going to be serving it.
What's your spaghetti policy?
The beat at the Bronx? Like what?
You got to pull you in the bag. They'll let you in that way. Reg,
yeah.
For real though, I want to say to your face, congratulations, because this is a great gig. I'm so excited for y'all. I think it's going to be so much fun.
Hell yeah.
I still can't believe it. It's still on the unbelievable stage, but yeah, I'm excited.
That's amazing.
Cool. I guess your non-co-host, will just F off then. Thanks, Reg.
Chopped Liver. Cool. Change your name to it, because that's what you are. Chopped Liver.
Damn.
I can't work like this.
Kid is giving, I guess I'll die.
I'll just
I'm trying to take
into
on Joel's
oblivion.
role since we're being so somber that I'm like, maybe I'll take on Joel's thing real quick.
You want to be the
before we
biggest
go.
heel in the business?
I mean, you know, he you know, it's not too
I
bad.
can't handle more than one Joel in this world, man. Come on now.
Just for
Come
today, not
on.
forever.
It better not be. It better not be. But
Mhm.
that's kind of cool or whatever. Yeah, like live streaming from Starcast is neat. I'm in a hotel room. That's cool. Whatever.
You just
I
came
spoke
from a
at the-
podcast convention talking
I did.
anyways.
And you
Get
know what,
outta
Reg? I
here.
was there by myself because you didn't come with me. You are too busy. Too big of a deal.
I'm preparing for my big live show next week. I'm sorry. Cresta.
You can just catch boring little old me at the biggest wrestling podcast convention or biggest podcast convention, just like in the whole country, doing a 30-minute presentation or whatever that I did today. But I'll have the footage of that in a couple of weeks, so I'll find out if I'm allowed to share it because I know they're trying to charge for it, but I get a copy of it in 2 weeks. It was very cool to connect with some people out here today. But that, I guess, is because I'm all alone and I don't have anybody to go to Starcast with. But
this is the saddest tag team breakup I've ever been a witness to.
oh my god, we didn't even win the tag team championships first.
Yeah,
This is
you
so
guys
Damn
it! He just broke
Oh,
it.
God. You can also catch me on Fightful Select doing the all-in post show behind the paywall, delightfully early. Let's do all of our shows in the UK. Very excited for that, as well as my normal schedule. Kate and Joel Call It in the Ring is just off for the summer, I guess. We're on holiday.
You just don't
but
exist in the summertime.
We don't. We do not. But we'll throw it over to the Impact crew. We thank you for being patient and sticking with us through what I can only describe as a very sad, awful, and weird night.
Crazy
But
day. Oh my
there
God.
was nothing fluid about our broadcasts. We did just want to call out as many memories and moments as we could, paid or unpaid, and also get your ROH review in. But we're going to pass it off to Joel and Cresta and let them steer the ship. Thank you guys for being with us on such a tough day. We really appreciate everyone here. So thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
And this is
Love out to everybody tonight. Yeah,
Thank
If you
Love
have
out to
someone you're
everybody.
thinking about, call them. Love them.
Call him,
Mhm.
give him a
big
hug,
time.
Yeah.
whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
Oh.
Peace.
Thanks, y'all.
We
Here
did
we
it,
are.
Reddit. I'm Joel Pearl.
No, you're
Okay, I'm not.
not. I mean, you could be. I don't know if you want to be, but you could be. I don't know if it's something you really want to take on.
Listen, I like taking on new, exciting, and challenging roles.
Oh, it's challenging. I can tell you that much. Cresta Star, how you doing?
I'm still gooped. I'm literally flabbergasted. I literally opened up Zitster, Twitter, whatever it is, and literally the first thing I'm greeted with is a tweet from Triple H. And woof. Again, it's a privilege and an honor to be able to see him wrestle. I think what he has done for the wrestling community as far as storytelling and in-ring work is phenomenal, but quite literally one of those situations where gone too soon, gone far too soon. And woof.
Yep. Let's get this the way we will normally start it for the audio friends.
Let's do this, y'all. Let's talk about some Impact Wrestling.
Hello, friends. We're back again. It's August 24th, 2023. I am Joel Pearl, and this is a very different post-Impact Wrestling show here on Fightful.com. Earlier this evening, the wrestling world received word that Wyndham Rotunda, also known as Bray Wyatt, passed away sadly at the age of 36. I'm here as I always am with Cresta Star. We're going to be doing our Impact review. We're going to talk a little bit about Emergence, which is coming up this weekend in Toronto. I will be there. We're going to talk about all that stuff, but also we might just talk a little bit about Bray, because that's something that Bray is going to be on the minds of a lot of people for the next little while, and rightfully so. Way too young, but
Absolutely.
we're gonna talk about all that, and of course the thumbs up and the subscribe and all that stuff. I'm gonna be a little off tonight. That's just the way it's gonna be. So Cresta, how are you doing tonight?
As well as a wrestling fan can be expected. Somebody had said when we were crossing over from the ROH show that we are a little wrestling community, and we all got to give ourselves hugs and patience. And I'll say it again. If you miss someone, call them. If you love someone, tell them. Text your mom, your sister, your cousin. You know, it's just unfortunate. But also shout outs to wrestling for being able to distract me from such sad times. It giveth and it taketh away.
Yeah, I was saying tonight, it's tough to watch Impact and talk about it. It's especially tough when the Impact social team isn't even tweeting about the show, which is something that they do very well every single week. And they put up the graphic for Bray for Wyndham Rotunda, and that was it. They took the rest of the night offline, and what was a good Impact going into Emergence, highs and lows. I'll be honest, I'm still looking forward to Emergence. There's stuff that I'm not looking forward to, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, tonight's show was it was a good distraction, but it was also it was tough to focus sometimes. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I would say that this show was very middle of the road for me. And maybe there was a little bit more to it, I might be like, okay, whatever, I could just focus on this. But I absolutely get what you're saying.
We should have just spent more time running around a hotel trying to find Bully Ray.
I mean, PCO is beginning to fall into what I like to call the Luchasaurus theorem. You have a small brain because you're a dinosaur. You're a zombie. You're undead. You don't know. Your brain is smooth. It's probably jelly. You don't know no better. So you got bamboozled.
He did. But he's still going to be in the match on Sunday. So good for you, PCO. You got a night off.
I mean, did you? You even in death, you can't rest.
I do have to say this. I found it very entertaining that as he walked through the second floor of that hotel, nice hotel, by the way, they were staying at, he walks up to a very obviously studio lit area. You can see the lights that are behind him and it's very obviously set up, and I don't know why, but I just found
because that's what Bully was. That's the scene of the.
I thought he was in a room. His room. Was he not?
He was.
He wasn't.
He was. But this was made to look. You see how like I'm in Sean Ross Sapp's house right now?
Oh, stop.
It's the same concept. Bully was in a different location, but the angle was down here. So when PCO got there, this is the angle we saw. You're thinking about it too much.
Yeah, the Instagram angle going.
Yes.
And then he got to reality when he got there.
The filters, because that definitely wasn't a grand piano in the background.
Oh, let's get right into it. PTI opened up with George Iceman, and he's talking about the CNE presser. So once again, Impact Emergence is this Sunday in Toronto. I will be there. And they're also taping on Monday night as well for Impact TV. But this is even more interesting. They're going to be at the Canadian National Exhibition, which is in Toronto. And if you're at the CNE, they're going to be holding matches. Everything starts on Friday night at 6 p.m. Eastern in the food tent. I think it's where it's going to be, it's a giant room. It's not just food. There's a bunch of stuff. So anyway, that's Friday night. There's going to be stuff. And then Saturday afternoon, I think 2:00. But Impact Stars are going to be around. And they're, like I said, doing this presser on Friday that I'll be at. But the big main event, of course, Emergence on Sunday and then TV on Monday. The match, Champagne Singh versus Russ Jones. Fine match. What I really love, Cresta, is after Champagne Singh wins the match, he hit the Colossus, by the way. He's
that's
what
it's called?
Mahal fan. Well, it's the Colossus in WWE. That's Jinder Mahal's finish.
Okay.
It's the Cobra Clutch slam, where he lifts him up the Cobra Clutch and slams him down. And then he cuts a promo saying, they're the best wrestlers ever seen in Chicago. And then PCO comes out, and then they're like, we're out of time. And it bleeds into Impact's main show. They rarely, if ever, do that. And I actually really like this.
I agree. I watch on YouTube, and I'm sure I think you do as well. So it's kind of funny because after that, it just cuts for like 30 minutes. So it's like, what are you doing right now? But it makes sense if you're watching it live that it would bleed over, considering that PCO had this long storyline throughout the night looking for Bully Ray. The match itself was fine. Champagne Singh not taking him seriously. Cheap Heat. Cheap Heat was the theme of the night. Everybody was out here just getting cheap heat. Your team sucks. Jordan left. Chicago stinks. The huge. I will say this crowd was very dead tonight as well, though, until the end.
This was the last of the Chicago tapings. They did 2 nights there. It was kind of hit or miss. I agree. But yeah, I think this was the tail end of what had been 2 full nights of tapings. So yeah, I can see it. The crowd was kind of done. My favorite is when Singh went to grab the microphone. The crowd is just chanting. Like they just don't want him. And they do it later to Diener, by the way, where they're chanting to Diener, please don't talk.
Bro,
like,
that's the
Singh
funniest
shit
chant
too.
I've ever heard. Please don't talk. Whoa, not even shut the just please don't talk. Politely asking you don't. Just shh.
It was good stuff. Oh gosh. So PCO comes out, they cross over into Impact, they take Shira and Singh. And of course, what I enjoy is that this becomes a through thread. We're talking about PCO and the bully stuff. The PCO grabs a table, but first he choke slams a dude onto another dude because he's PCO, and then he puts Singh on the table and hits that deanimator through the table. And then Bully's in the hotel. He does the look up here, which is also like the most gender 2018 WWE championship line ever. So I'm just loving it's 2017. But anyway, I just love that he's like, they're making this a whole, to me, this is a whole Jinder Mahal segment. And then Pulley's like, look at you diving off the top rope, putting people through tables. I know it's me you wish you were doing that too, but I'm not leaving my hotel room because Impact can't guarantee my safety. And I'm going to be the one to take out PCO. And of course, PCO does his Bully. So I like the opening segment only because it crossed over from BTI and it became part of the through thread throughout the entire night of Impact.
I agree with that. I like that too. I wish they would do more of that, but it makes complete sense considering what happens at the end, why you would want to lure Bully out. I mean, PCO out. Also, not guaranteeing their safety. I said this maybe 3-4 weeks ago. If all the women in Impact Wrestling ever jumped Bully Ray, I might become Stevie Wonder and lose the ability to see if he filed a report because you deserve it. And now you concerned about your safety? All right. All right, sir.
Just lose your sight like Crazy Steve. We're going to talk about that segment when we get.
Whoa, Crazy Steve said, turn it up tonight.
That took a sharp left turn. Dobby the Brain Heenan kicks us off with a super chat saying a solid show tonight, but more importantly, RIP Wyndham. Never be afraid to tell your loved ones that you love them. Enjoy every day to its fullest. 100%. Thank you for the super chat. It's interesting to me. I remember very vividly watching the Bray Wyatt, the first Firefly Funhouse, when it first debuted on Raw, and like nobody had any idea what was going on. And they debuted it was in the UK, so they were doing Raw like taped live to air later. So we got spoilers because right they were 2:00 here, it was 8:00 there, and someone had taken footage with like a cell phone camera. So a bunch of people saw this Firefly Funhouse thing, and everyone was like, "What the heck is this? This is weird." It was like this strange. Mr. Dress Up is a Canadian thing. It was like just a weird Mr. Rogers Neighborhood type of thing. And I loved it at the time. I don't know if you were as into it or as big a fan when that happened.
Well, when Firefly Funhouse first started doing the vignettes and when I had just started watching wrestling, got back into it. So I was like, what the fuck is this? But what really sold me on the Firefly Funhouse is when he finally debuted in the ring as The Fiend and he came out with that lantern. Yes, it was an Undertaker 20-minute entrance, but it was worth every minute of it. I remember just being there like, yo, this is sick. What the That's the type of stuff that sold me into wrestling. And then when people started telling me the lore about it, how technically he's trying to say that the past cult leader he had, where he was trying to like get people to do stuff with the Wyatt family, this is him saying that is dead. This is who I am now. And great stuff. I'm angry. I don't know how else to say it.
I was there for that Fiend debut in Toronto at SummerSlam 2019. And I never forget it. And it's funny because, on the other side of things, people are talking about Edge right now. And earlier today, Steven Jensen and Jeremy Lambert were talking on their show about the Edge doing the spear on, who was it? On Elias. And how that was like completely unexpected because at the time Edge wasn't cleared for competition. But then later in the night, all conversation about Edge hitting a spear completely gone because we saw the intro for the Fiend. And everyone was just like glued to whatever this presence was. It was really good. And then, of course, the match itself against Finn Balor, at one point he does the neck snap to Finn Balor. And everyone's like, oh, Finn's dead. And that was that. And it was such a really innovative character. And
Yes.
say what you want about how it was booked or the feelings that you had about just the way that the story progressed, the way it was introduced, and just again the way whenever Wyndham had the input into what the story was and where things were starting, it was always strong.
I agree. I totally agree. And I get those two entrances when he came out as the Fiend the first time, and then when he reintroduced himself as the Fiend the second time, it just makes you want more. And like you said, say what you will about his booking, you're only upset about it because you want more. That's how good he was.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of which, good booking. Trinity has a match against Jody Threat. These two women have been booked strong for obvious reasons on different sides of the spectrum. I want to let everyone know, if you're going to Emergence, bring some school supplies, because Jody Threat's actually doing a teacher drive. So all of the products that are going to be donated at Emergence, Jody's going to be donating to teachers who are filling their classrooms. So
that's
really,
nice.
really cool. Yeah, a very, very big shout out. Want people to know about that, especially if you're in Toronto and attending the show. This match, it was solid stuff. Jody didn't win, of course. That's the Impact Knockouts champion you're facing, but she looked good in defeat. Hits a Michinoku driver on Trinity. That looked good. She goes for that pop shove it, which used to be the F416. They've since changed it, and I'm glad they did, to be honest with you. But Trinity countering it and turning it into an X Factor was really good. Trinity continues to use the Bubba Bomb, which is that sit out front power bomb. And she gets the win on Jody Threat. That Bubba Bomb, whatever she's going to call it, seems to be her new finish for non-submission. What do you think of the match, Trinity and Jody Threat?
I'm glad you got a name for it, because I called it the butt bomb.
Well, so it's the Bubba Bomb because it was Bubba Ray Dudley, or the Bully Bomb in Impact. It was Bully Ray who did that. It's a sit out front power bomb.
Like, I didn't know what the exact move was. So I like it. Sit down front power bomb, bubble bomb. Okay, whatever. We'll take it. And the match was solid itself. Honestly, I will say this. Jody Threat really beat the shit out of Trinity. And I'm not mad at it. Because I think that, for me personally, one of my criticisms was, when it comes to WWE has a very specific style about, especially how they present their women. So to see stiff women or someone going from the WWE style, especially to the Impact style, I enjoyed it. Because Trinity took it like a champ. There was one point in the beginning of the match in particular where Jody Threat throws Trinity into like the turnbuckle, but she had just stiffed on her, and Trinity looked like she got her clock cleaned. Like, it was great stuff. My only complaint, again, was the crowd was a little too quiet for my taste. But I think Jody Threat being really stiff on Trinity is shutting up anyone who's like, well, I'm not sure she can do it. You know what I mean? So
they're just getting used to Jody Threat. Like, the Impact fans are just getting introduced and used to her. And I've said this before, they're gonna start warming up to her the more that she wrestles in front of people. But of course, Trinity's a big draw, especially in Chicago, where she made her debut. So the hope was the whole time that people were going to stick around and support Trinity. And by and large, they are. I'm actually really excited to see how Toronto reacts to her, because she hasn't done anything in Toronto with Impact yet.
Come on. And I will say this, and I think everyone in here watching this now with us, thank you, Impact Loyal and Faithful. I watch it on YouTube, and I see a lot of late overlap from some of the people in here in the YouTube channel. Impact fans, if they love you to death. They will follow you. They'll make sure nothing bad comes to you. They will cheer for you forever. I think a lot of people like it, because even when they were doing the crowd shots, I saw a lot of Trinity shirts. I just think, again, this crowd, to me, I'm expecting every crowd to be hot. I need you to be like Puerto Rico. I need you to be like UK. I need you to be like Toronto, every crowd.
I don't know how the Toronto crowd's going to be this week. I really don't. The emergence is on a Sunday. It's after All In. It's not a major event. It is Josh Alexander's first match back in Toronto since his injury, but don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I'm expecting a good time, but I'm not expecting the same packed house they had for Rebellion back in April.
Okay, that's fair. I don't know why I'm expecting Mickie James to interfere in the last match. I don't know why. I don't know. And I say the last match because I'm assuming Trinity and Deanna is going to be the main event.
I think it should be, but the way that they're kind of promoting the 8-man tag, I'm starting to think they're going to put that on last. And I kind of understand why. Again, Josh's first match back. The Impact World Champions involved, the Impact X Division Champions involved. It is technically a star-studded main event, but I also am the type of person who thinks that a world title, which the Knockouts world title is considered such, it should main event. So I
agree with that.
know. I don't know what they're doing. I would like them to have Deonna versus Trinity main event because that is a match that is the first announced. It was a big draw from the beginning. It should main event.
I completely agree with that. I think the 6-man tag, if you really want to get your money's worth, if you don't put on the X Division match first, that should go second to last. I don't think the crowd would be worn out and the crowd would be just as hyped, but I agree with you. I'm of the mind that if you have a world championship on the card, that should be your main event, especially if there's only one. Because oh no, Shelley is defending against.
No, Shelley's in that 8-man tag.
Yeah, no. So I digress.
It's Time Machine and Josh Alexander against Bully Ray, Moose Myers, and Leo Rush.
So yeah, to me, it's a no-brainer. But again, I could see the argument for you got all these big names. Why not have them in the main event?
And I see someone in the chat saying that Macklin returns. That's the only reason that you might want that in the main event. But also, do you need it? PCO coming out, Macklin coming out. Like, is there enough going on? Is that going to be big enough for the crowd to want that to be the main event?
I think there might be too much going on. And again, if you have a world champion, why not have your world champion, close the show? I think an X Division championship or the if not the X Division, the Ultimate X winner, that match should be first too. I think X Division shots, title shots are a great way to start Impact because it starts you off on a high note and you guys can go in and out from there. But again, I think if you don't put the women on last, you're going to put them on first. Because putting them on in the middle of the card, Scott, don't make don't make me. I'll come to Canada.
Gia Miller's backstage with Josh Alexander. Josh says he was out for 5 months and it felt like a lifetime. He wants the world title back, and he'll be watching Myers and Shelley tonight. And I did too, and it was actually a good match. We'll talk about that soon. Dina versus Laredo Kid. Listen, Cresta, I don't know if you know this, but if there's one thing a luchador will do when they come to Impact Wrestling, it's lose. And Laredo Kid is no different. Dina's spine compression dropkick, it still looks good. I love it. Laredo Kid goes and takes out Khan on the outside instead of going after Dina, which was kind of dumb in my opinion. And of course, Laredo Kid, he rolls back into the ring to try and get momentum, and Dina hits the antidote, gets the win. Post-match, this is the fun stuff. Crowd is chanting, please don't talk. And he challenges Eric Young to a no disqualification match at Emergence, basically saying, Dina's in control. I'm the designer, not you. You came back to finish your story, but I'm going to stop you. What do you think of the match? What do you think of Dina versus Young at Emergence? Is this chapter 1, or is this going to be one and done?
Poor Laredo Kid. All you did was come here to wrestle, and all Impact Wrestling said was stop that. The match itself was okay. It was mostly just Dina yelling at him that you're a piece of crap and you'll never be as good as me. I was low-key hoping for an Eric Young run-in, but that's not what we got. Sucks that Laredo Kid lost. I agree with you. If you're going to do lucha, just don't do that in Impact Wrestling. They might try to see that shit, apparently. As far as the post-match, I do like that him saying, you were the architect, you were the designer, and you created me. But that story's done. I'm the author, and you're not going to do it here. Get out. I think that this should be the end of the design story. Now, I think I've said this 3 weeks in a row now, and I'm going to say it again. If you decide that this is going to be the end, Dina needs to win. Dina needs to win, and the design needs to be kept strong from there. But if this is the end of the design, Dina needs to lose, and I never want to see the design again. Sorry, Khan. It's almost like it's becoming Honor No More for me. Like, you are literally dragging it. You're dragging it. Like, either book them strong and make them violent monsters like you portrayed them to be, but then they lost a lot. Or, because, like, it's a good concept. I think it's great, but, like, you can't I'm tired of the half-stepping. You have one foot out the door. Like, either book them strong like the monsters they are, or beat it, because I want to see Khan and Dina actually wrestle.
I spoke with Matt Taven this past weekend. I did ask him about Honor No More. Actually, we talked a lot about Impact stuff because that time for him was a really interesting time when ROH was non-existent, and then Tony Khan came and bought it, and a lot of things changed for them. And I asked him about that. I asked him about his Ring of Honor World Championship reign because a lot of people did not like it. So go check that out when it drops. The Matt Taven interview was a lot of fun. But I agree with you to a certain degree. They got to kind of shit or get off the pot when it comes to the Dina Eric Young, Khan. The story needs to eventually go somewhere. I see in the chat someone saying make it a steel cage match. If they do a no disqualification match, this is supposed to be some sort of blow off. But yeah, I don't know where it goes from here.
Yeah.
Something's got to make sense, whether that's Eric wins the first one and then they can do a best of 3 and it will be fine. But like the last match has to be just a war. And I don't know what that war is going to be.
And I think Diener definitely at this point has the stones, because if you've been watching Impact for any time Eric Young has been in Impact, you know Eric Young give it up in the ring. I know Diener has the stones now. So it's like, I'd rather y'all do an all-out war and just have a definitive decision. And I'll give you that. If you do it 2 out of 3 because you want to stretch it out, that's fine. Just when you get to the third one, that's it.
Thinking about it, I mean, Emergence is now. Next month or 2 weeks later is Victory Road in White Plains. And then after that, it's going to be Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory is the next major pay-per-view. That could be your blow-off. That's your third match.
Yeah, just have it make sense. And I trust Impact enough that you can make it make sense. And I know we've been saying this, and first and foremost, I hope this person's okay, but I will always be pulling for a Joe Doring comeback to deal with Khan. I think that makes a lot of sense. If not, maybe, no, I don't have any other answers. I was going to say Cousin Jake, but Cousin Jake is Jake something. He's being a beefy man right now. Cody who? I don't know that man. I've never seen him. I'm sorry to that man, so...
He's got to beat up Sonata and just 5 guys on Sunday. That's what he's got to do.
5 guys. I'm so hungry.
Oh, don't even know. Bizarro Big L sent a Humper Chat. By the way, humperchats.com is where you can drop them as well. We didn't do that tonight because we just want to leave the bit alone for this week. Big Bizarro Big L says, seeing the Bray news flash on my phone breaks my heart. Brian's Wyatt family run was one of my first matches. I hope Bray and Brody are by the fire together again. Tears aren't enough for him and his family. The whole world in his hands. I need ice cream. I love the last part especially, but yeah, man, losing Brody Lee and then Bray Wyatt. A lot of people drawing those comparisons, those two as brotherly as they were. It sucks, you know. It's very tough. 2 guys who were very influential at a time in WWE when there were young talent starting to make the rise. You know, the Shield, the Wyatt family was a great set of matches. People don't maybe realize, like, he was in the WWE system, Bray Wyatt was, since 2009. Like, he was around for a while through FCW and then brought up to do some house show loops here and there. He was around. He worked. You want to know? Here's my Impact connection for right now. He worked Santino Marella and Kozlov. They had the WWE tag titles at one point, and there was a time when you had Husky Harris, Bray Wyatt, teaming up with various members of Nexus or just people from FCW going for those tag titles. There you go. A little bit of connection.
Bro, like, when I was seeing people post things, it's like one of those things too. Like, I just want to hug Eric Rowan. Like, I want to put a prayer circle around him. Terry Funk too, the day before. It's, again, hug your loved ones. If you miss somebody, it don't care. It don't matter how long y'all guys haven't spoke. Message them like, yo, I miss you. Even if you're like, yo, who the hell is this? you tried, you know?
Exactly. Swingman promo. Oh my God. This
is such a segue.
This was just the way I was feeling earlier tonight completely broke when we got to this promo. I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can watch this show and talk about it. And then I saw the Swingman promo. I'm like, oh my God, he's learning about the internet. It's everything we said it would be. All the places he's worked, all the websites he's visiting and seeing. There's stuff flashing across the screen and little pop-ups like, you're not the father. You said you'd pay my trans. Oh my God, so many Easter eggs. Go back and watch this promo because there's a lot of stuff in there that like you need to know. And if you know, you know. This was just the best, Cresta.
I literally wrote Johnny Swinger GeoCity style promo.
Yes. It was this is Angel Fire.
This is literally, I'm going to say a bunch of old things and look at the camera directly and put your head on the screen if you understand what I'm saying. This was giving GeoCities Icon has cheeseburger, old memes, trolling is an art, trolling for blood. This is giving old 4chan. It really gave. I just learned how to use See and Say, and I want to donate $100 to you. Oh my God. When he said, once I figure out the secret of life, because it popped up on my computer, I was like, bro, you're gonna have a virus on your computer by the end of the night. It reminded me of when my mom first got a computer, told me don't download stuff, and then she's like, I got a virus on the computer. How? You was just downloading stuff.
Telling you, man, he's gonna come out extra jacked in Toronto because he's discovered the internet, but just one arm. Just one arm.
He's like, Daddy, you should have told me we were doing this in the swing dungeon, Daddy. I've heard of this place. It's called the Hub. You ever heard of it?
Oh my God. Ace of Base versus the Good Hands. This is at a moment I was just dealing with a lot of stuff. Good match. This was a good back and forth match. I don't have a lot of notes on it. The Favor, which is the Good Hands, that's their finish on Ace Austin, was really good. Chris Bay made the save, and then eventually they hit the Art of the Fold on Hotch, get the win. Does Ace of Bays. What do you think of the match? Because Ace of Bays need to get back in that win column.
The match was good. I like that they did the inverted Art of the Finesse. I think they did the fold first, and then the Art of Finesse after, instead of normally the Art of Finesse into the fold. I think it was great. The Good Hands every day get better and better. I kind of just want them to get serious. Like be for real at this point. Like, be for real. You telling me they didn't pay you, so then why you attack Bullet Club just because you want to be in Bullet Club, don't you? Everybody want to be in Bullet Club. You want to be in Bullet Club, don't you? You saw what they did for the ass boys, and now you like, help the hands. If you can help the ass boys, you can help the hands. Hand ass. New tag team, hand ass.
Hey, man, Bullet Club handed Josh Alexander's team the loss at Multiverse, so there you go. A combined Bullet Club is a happy Bullet Club.
That's true. And Bullet Club is on the same page, all 977 members of them. I mean, they're good. They're effective. It's kind of like when NWO was on the same page, all 977 factions of them. It was great because you guys got stuff done. So I don't blame them. I'd be jealous too, but there's better ways to go about it.
I agree. Joe Hendry and Yuya Uemura have the Buddy Cop promo, and they announced that at Countdown to Emergence, they're going to team up officially for the first time. This is the beginning. Who are they going to face? Local enhancement talent or the Good Hands?
I'm glad you said the Good Hands, because when you said local enhancement challenge, like, you mean the Good Hands?
Hey, man, they're breaking out of it. They're now in that lower mid-card part of the tag division, right?
I mean, they're above Champagne singing in the not in the shifts. Oh,
actually, it could be singing Shira.
It really could be singing. Who else is left then? Who else is left? The Super Serious Dango and Johnny Alpha?
No, that would be fantastic. No, Dango's got to deal with Santino.
Don't you mean Jake something who's going to rip him?
Oh, no. I just realized that Dango's going to get involved in that Jake something versus Sonata.
Oh, yeah. I already peeped that. But he said he's going to go at Emergence. He's wrestling Sonata, who's I think is the champion. Yeah. Oh, Dango's going to interfere in that. And Jake something's literally going to rip Dango's arms off and beat him with it.
I don't know.
He's going to kill that man.
They haven't announced that Sonata is staying for Monday, but if they are, they should tape Sonata and Jake something versus Bravo and Dango.
Poor Johnny Bravo. First you got shot, now you get beat up by Jake. That's not funny.
I wish I had the Tommy Dreamer. I can't play it here because then we get copyright struck. When they did the Who Shot Johnny Bravo, and it's just the crane camera pulling out. This was during like peak. This was peak COVID impact when they're doing this, and there's nobody there. Like there's nobody in the crowd, but they're set up and they have the big like overhead shot, and it's just someone shot Johnny, and it's with Road Warrior paint on his face. No. The funniest, dumbest shit ever. Shout out to Tommy Dreamer. That was good stuff.
Impact, let us share your stuff, please.
It's anyone would flag us for it. It's dumb. Chris Sabin versus Samurai Del Sol. This was a really, really solid match. Again, if you're a luchador who comes to Impact Wrestling, you know you're taking the L, but it's okay because Sabin had a really good match with Samurai Del Sol. He gets a lot of offenses in. Oh my God. Offense in does Del Sol. Sabin works the leg for most of the time and the knee. That's some really good limb work. And then, of course, the Salito del Sol gets used by Samurai del Sol, and the outside plancha on Sabin was good. There's a lot of S sounds being made here, Cresta. I'm losing it. And then Sabin gets the cradle shot, gets the win. What do you think of the match? Talk, please.
Honestly, Sabin was on one in this match. Chris Sabin, this is when the crowd woke up, and this is when I woke up a little bit too. Chris Sabin was beating the hell out of Samurai del Sol, specifically his leg. He was targeting that leg. There were like, hold on, let me just make sure I get the right thing. I think it's called an STF, or am I thinking of the last match where there was a lot of
the STF was that was Sabin.
Yeah, there's a lot of, you know. At the end of the day, how do you stop a luchador? You take out his legs, because that's all they do. Samurai del Sol tried to get up on his hands, and Chris Sabin kicked him in his chest. He said, knock it off. This match was great, but honestly, I think I've seen a super serious Chris Sabin one other time besides this, and it's quite refreshing. Not to say he's not a serious wrestler, but he's normally like, yeah, we're going to wrestle, we're going to do a little grapple. Tonight, he was like, no, I'm beating your ass. I'm beating you up. I don't care.
Let's talk about this. Crazy Steve, the final interview segment. This was weird. This took a sharp left, as I mentioned at the top of the show. Steve asked for Tom Hannafin because Tom is the voice of Impact, and that carries weight. And then Steve says, his sight and his voice have been taken from him, and he needs Tom to carry his message. Steve is tired of being abandoned, forgotten, being on the receiving end of evil. And he says if he can't be the antidote to evil, then perhaps he should be the plague. And then he starts screaming that Tom is going to help him. And Tom Hannafin is getting scared, says, Steve, you're hurting me. Then he runs off. He gets taken apart from security. And then Steve is like, he just takes over a stagehand, drips this green stuff on him, just comes crazy Steve, psychotic Steve, if you will. Says, I'm comfortable with violence. I'm comfortable with evil. I'll be the psychopath in your story, but be sure to include the chapter in the story where you effing made me. So that took a really sharp left, and I don't know what to talk about it when it comes to this crazy Steve segment. What do you think of it?
I see this segment in two parts. First part is like, bro, I didn't write down the full quote because he started talking real fast, but the quote was the effect of something: the casual blindness to people suffering is something, but this doesn't feel casual. This feels very fucking deliberate. Like, wow, I felt that. I feel bad. Like, if you think about the world outside of wrestling, sometimes our indifferences, can make it seem like we don't care about one another. And based off of the other two video interviews where he was like, people abandon me, I'm always on the receiving end of evil. So when he turned on Tom like that, I was like, I was not expecting that. I thought you were going to be like, Tom, I want you to manage me. I don't know where I thought it was going, but it was not. This was not it. I did not expect that. Now, Crazy Steve being more crazy. How much more crazy? You bite everyone every match. You going into the undead realm to literally get out Taya, Havoc, and Rosemary? I like it. I think Crazy Steve is phenomenal, and I want to see how crazy Steve can get, because he was crazy, but it was kind of like, I'm crazy. And now it's like, I don't know. I might Cody Dean, are you crazy?
Going into this, the very first segment, when they brought in Tom, I'm like, okay, they're going to try and do something weird with Tom where he feels awkward or feels uncomfortable with all this. And that's what they did. I'm glad that they didn't do a whole like beating up Tom Hannafin segment. Instead, they just kind of had Steve be like, I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. Like, it's not my fault. And I do enjoy that they're probably going to turn this back to getting Rosemary and Jessica back, or getting Rosemary and Havoc back. It's probably going to end with him going after Father James Mitchell or whoever speaks for Father James Mitchell and just being like, I'm going to free myself. Now, Crazy Steve is probably going to come out of the undead realm as another alter ego where he's the nice guy, where he's not Crazy Steve, where he's like the Susie version or the Susan version of Crazy Steve, where he's going to come out as Steven, and it's going to be fantastic. But right now the idea is that Crazy Steve is just crazy as hell, and he's got to finish his story, whatever that is.
That's a good point. Like, I don't know if you watch anime, but there's an anime called A Full Metal Alchemist, And in order to get something, you got to give equivalent exchange. You go in for Rosemary and you go in for Havoc, but you get Rosemary and Havoc, but you come out with Steven. Crazy Steve is also the evil. You got to give a life for a life. That's kind of funny. I would like to see it because it happened with Su Young. It definitely happened with Su Young. And Su Young went in there like 3, Su Young, Susie, and Susan.
And now the idea Su Young had the 3. I like the idea of Stevie, where he's just like the
child,
where he's kind of a child. Sophisticated Steve in the chat is fantastic. Yes.
I would like to challenge you in a game of fisticuffs for the World Championship for Impact Wrestling. Should you indubitably accept my invitation?
So there you go. Okay, so it's gonna be Sophisticated Steve and then like Silly Steve, where he's like a clown.
Sophisticated Steven with a PH, like Steven Jensen.
Oh no. Oh god. All right, let's keep going before we get weird. The MK Ultra promo, they say emergency is
getting weird.
It's already there. The MK Ultra promo, they just said that it's going to be their next experiment because they're taking on 3 other teams in their first title defense. MK Ultra continues to be the most amazing tag team ever because their demographic is very clear to me, Cresta Star.
Every time for the past 3 weeks, I've been trying to be saved. I realize I've been very thirsty on this channel. But like when they cut promos like this, it's like, how can I not be thirsty? I'm so dehydrated. Like you said, y'all know who you marketing to. Me and Kate. You know who your target audience is. This is great. Listen, it was great last week, but Jessica said, listen, sis, you gotta be this tall to ride this ride. Back away, demon. I'm gonna be sports entertained at various meaty women of various sizes slapping various meats. I'm the winner. I win no matter what. I win.
Let me tell you who's not gonna win. Me on Sunday and the fans at home watching the back to school match between Edward Edwards and Frankie Kazarian. Cresta, we sat here last week and we said, hey, this is going to be cool because they're going to do it. They're going to tape it. They're going to show it to us on an episode of Impact. And we're all going to be like, cool, this is it. Wonderful. Let's go. Then they announced that they're going to do the match on Sunday. I assume it's going to be taped. Or it's just going to be school supplies in the ring. And it's going to make 0 sense. If this is a tape match and they have a live audience, that is a giant waste of our time. There is no reason, if this is what they're doing, for Impact to have a live audience reacting to a recorded match when you typically record your show with external segments.
I mean, how else are you going to do it unless you have them in Killer Kowalski's school and it's shot live from there?
That's what they do. Look at Impact every single week. They tape shit off site all the time.
So then either you're watching it live from your seat in another building, or you're watching
it live from home where I'm in the comfort of my home and I can do 2 things: sit and watch comfortably, or pause it for like 20 minutes, go do literally anything else, and then hit the 2X on YouTube and get through the match in half the time if it doesn't suck, or if it does.
I mean, it'll be worse if they really fought with school supplies.
That'll be hilarious.
That'll be no, stop it.
But again, there was no reason why the company that literally just they tape a string of matches live and in-ring promos, sure, but like all the stories are told within the backstagers, the stuff that we don't see live necessarily. This is one of those things, and no one's hurt if they just film it as a cinematic match. Like, there was no reason. And again, I could be wrong. I could walk into Sunday and they're doing something live in the ring. I don't know what it would be, but by the sounds of it, this is going to be a tape match that's going to be shown on screens at Rebel Nightclub, and we're going to be like, do you guys have any food that we could go buy? Because like this sucks. And I don't want that. I want to be sitting there enjoying myself, watching the matches live in front of me. I don't want to watch the screens for 20 minutes or 15 or whatever it's going to be for this match.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. I'm just trying to make sense of the information given to me. I don't. It doesn't make sense to me. But on the other hand, a back to school match, you're gonna skip down to the ring with your clear backpack. I think that's what the youth gotta wear nowadays. You're gonna have a pencil sharpener. What is this? Shank is Cody Deaner again, shanking Eric Young. What are we doing? I think it either has to be a cinematic match or there's a school set up in the background. I don't know.
That
That's
venue,
taking a test.
that venue can't do that. And I see in the chat they're saying, Iceman said that they were going to do something special for the Toronto crowd, an impromptu. It wasn't an impromptu match. They said they were going to have just for the live audience only like segment or appearance. I don't know what they're doing. It's very strange.
It is. I'm hoping for the best because I have faith and I trust Impact Wrestling. But that being said, I think a cinematic match would fit the theme of this match. But if I'm a fan in attendance, I'm like, what the?
I'll tell you this much. You want a good cinematic match, you gotta watch that Bray Wyatt and John Cena Firefly Funhouse match.
That one is good. I thought you were gonna say the Boneyard.
No, not the Boner. You want to watch the Boner Yard match. That's a different one. That's
on a different site.
that was the Good Brothers. That was the Rocky Romero special. No, you want to watch the Firefly Funhouse match from WrestleMania 36, the PC Mania. That was a fantastic match. That's the one you want to go.
It was a good match.
Yeah.
He effectively killed John Cena.
He did. And then John Cena's coming back next week on SmackDown.
I mean, well, yeah. Beep, 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 beep.
Either way, that's just, again, going back to Bray. I think about that match, and I think about the Mountain Dew match, the Pitch Black match. It got a lot of shit because it was weird. But man, it had its moments. It was entertaining in like the funniest way, but also Bray doing the press conference afterwards was so unique because he was just happy. He was just like happy to be back, happy to be doing this thing, happy to have this new platform. LA Knight looked great in that match. I was thinking to myself, when was the last time I saw Bray Wyatt live? And I was like, I looked up his cage match. And I'm like, oh, I saw him in a dark match on SmackDown the night before Elimination Chamber because it was LA Knight versus Bray Wyatt. And it was like a dark street fight. And it was a solid match. It was quick, 5 minutes in, 5 minutes out. And it was fun. But LA Knight got to work exclusively with Bray up until the end. That was pretty neat.
Yeah, I will always say that Bray's matches, just like in the context of like, it takes a brilliant mind to do that. Even when he was like the Hell in a Cell match that got flack for giving too much Hell in a Cell, he was still no-selling it. And it looked like Seth was literally doing everything but throwing the kitchen sink at it. It was almost like an Acme cartoon scene at some point. Like, that is great because I feel like sometimes no-selling when done over a lot, we tend to be like, okay, you're okay. We get it. You're taking us out of it. We get it. We're all in on the joke. But with the character and the way he was setting it up, it made so much sense that literally Hell in a Cell hated the finish, but the match itself made sense. Bray up until that point was an unstoppable monster. So
that was the one thing with the Fiend character that I think a lot of people were rightfully upset about and frustrated with. Why does the Fiend want the WWF champion or the WWE title? Right? Why would this weird, like, evil concoction? Why would they want the WWE championship? And that's something that I think about a lot. Is what if the Fiend just was a character wrestler and wasn't one that wanted championships? How much more legwork would there have been for the Bray Wyatt Fiend character if they had just done that instead of Hell in a Cell? Now he's unbeatable, but he eventually will have to be beaten. It was a lot. It was the Fiend never needed the title, but it was such a good ugly $6,500 championship they made for him. God bless.
I'm not mad at that idea, but I've always took it as the Fiend wants to just fuck shit up. Bray wanted titles. Mr. Firefly Funhouse talking to Rambling Rabbit wanted the accolades. He just wanted to prove himself. The Fiend was the one who went to the ring, kind of like what Randy Orton was doing in 2018, 2019. I just want to beat people up. I get paid to beat people up. This is the best job ever. Him and Moose are the same person because Moose is like, yo, you could pay me in a hot dog and a handshake. As long as I get to beat people up, yeah, you not stopping me? Oh, yes. Yes.
Well, Moose's tag partner Brian Myers is in the main event. Myers versus Shelley for the Impact World Championship. It was a lot better of a match than I expected it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Let's face it. I mean, Brian Myers is he's really good. First of all, Create a Pro. If you know about the wrestling school that Myers is in on, you know that they create some fantastic pro wrestlers, including one who's going to be a part of the main event at All In this coming Sunday night. So Brian Myers is very good. He's just not the first guy you think of when you think about world championships.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Shelley is a guy who's presently getting his flowers. Had a match tonight in Toronto in Demand Lucha. He faced Aramis and had a great showing. That was an Impact World Championship match. But tonight on the show, Shelley and Myers tore it up. Had a really good match. Of course, Shelley wins. That's just the way it goes. Gets the Border City stretch. Hits it twice because he's got to do that. And then after the match, Moose, Bully Ray, they come down. They beat up Alex Shelley. And Kushida and Alexander come out. And then in the back, you see Chris Sabin was laid out by Leo Rush because at the time Leo Rush couldn't, do his thing. He was out of action. And then they do an end of show brawl, and PCO is nowhere to be found. So, what do you think of the match? What do you think of the post beatdown? Does it get you a little excited for Sunday, or you just kind of at the same level at this point?
Same level. When it comes to anything involving Bully Ray, I reserve my excitement for a day of. Because sometimes I think that Bully Ray's build, if I'm being objective to myself, I think Bully Ray's build sometimes is lackluster. Get into the match, tons of fun. He's the worst, best heel you'll ever watch, like along with Jeff Jarrett. I kind of expected PCO to come back in that moment. Because it's like it was very clear, but I don't know. I have to see this Sunday at Emergence how this is going to go. But I am excited. I do love the Motor City Machine Guns. I just think, if anything, PCO looks kind of silly here. You blew off Gia Miller, who was trying to tell you don't go. But again, you got mush for brains. You're undead. You're a zombie. I can't put too much stock in that. How do you feel about going into it on Sunday?
It didn't really change my feeling. The only thing it did change was the idea that they're going to be the main event. Because they did the big brawl. It was inconclusive. Nobody got pulled apart. No Santino Marella and no Scott D'Amore on this episode either. That was another thing. You didn't really get to see either of them. Maybe they're just on their way to Toronto for the big show.
Isn't that across the street?
Yeah, pretty much. Listen, the match was great between Myers and Shelley. Go out of your way to watch it because these two just put on a good, solid wrestling match. They do everything right. The first time that Shelley locks in the Border City stretch, Myers eventually turns it into a pin for 2.9, and then he plays possum and eventually hits an implant DDT that looks so crisp, so good.
Mm-hmm.
His spear is good. Myers just knows how to wrestle. Like they when it works, it works. So watch these two work together, especially if you're into the wrestling, like the wrestling. Watch this match. It's really good. But yeah, the bigger story is that 8-man tag, it's going to be hot. It's going to be good, but it was a solid go-home show that just kind of got swept away by unfortunate reality. And that's what makes this particular episode really hard to talk about because I'm excited for Sunday. I'm looking forward to it on a few different levels, not only because I'll be there live, but also say it here. I think I've said it on In the Weeds. My brother, who is not actively a big wrestling fan, is going to be with me. So he's going to get to experience Impact for the first time. So far, where he's like, what are the food options like at Rebel?
That's a real brother answer. That's hey, listen, I'm doing this things I love you, but also in case I don't love it, what's the food looking like?
To which I have to explain, well, you see, Rebel isn't exactly like, it's not an arena and it's not a bar where you'd see smaller wrestling events where they bring in food. Rebel doesn't really have food. And so they don't
eat before we go.
So well, that was always the plan. My folks are coming in. It's a whole thing. But anyway, so I'm looking forward to the event for many different reasons, not just that, but also because like Impact does tend to put on a really fun show when you're live and in the audience, and that's something that you can enjoy. So it'll be good. It'll be a fun experience, and I'm looking forward to the show on Sunday. You and I are not going to be live after the show. We're gonna have to find a time to either do a post show, or maybe we won't. We'll see how things go. If there's like a major title change of some sort, so let's say Deanna beats Trinity, then we'll probably have to do some sort of big post show. But if there isn't, then we'll probably just talk about it on Thursday or find a different time to record something and throw it up here on, on Fightful.com.
Makes sense. All In is that day, and it does mess with the algorithm, I've been told. So sorry about it.
We'll play it by ear. We'll see. And also, like, I'll be forthright. That particular Monday is also, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, it's not. Is it? No, it's not. Okay. Well, Jeremy and I are going to be talking about it in the weeds anyway. So there you go. We'll be talking about that and All In. That's on Monday. So it'll be out there. We'll still talk about it. I promise. Till then, let's get this last super chat from Dex Baker, who says, Cresta, I joined your stream last night for the first time. Hilarious. Demon time, LOL. Nothing to add. RIP Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk. Those were just two in a row. But your stream, let's talk about that. Hilarious. Demon time. What is this?
Okay.
Tell them.
So if you guys have been watching for the last 2 weeks, especially last week, we rebooted for the second time the Baldur's Gate run with the wrestlers. But I was doing my solo run after we had watched AEW Dynamite. One of my characters, one of the NPC characters, woke me up in the middle of the night. He's like, hey, you asleep? I'm like, nah, what's going on? Character's name is Karlak. She's a barbarian. She starts telling me, thank you for saving my life. Oh, man, I'm glad I'm not a servant for the demon. And out of nowhere, unprompted, she said, wow, I want to ride you till you see stars. I was asleep. I was sleeping. I was sleeping.
No, you weren't.
No, I wasn't, apparently. And she's like, this character in particular is like Red Rhea Ripley. I can't say no. What am I? It's such her body's on fire. What can I do? I'm an elf. So the whole stream was just me like this. I'm trying to, no, ma'am, leave me alone. But that's not happening tonight with Joe Hendry. And I think that's a great segue. I will be doing at 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time the Impact quote-unquote wrestling run of Baldur's Gate. We got Joe Henry, Jay Uso, bald Randy Orton. There's a specific difference between hair Randy Orton and bald Randy Orton. And we got Big E, who's a dwarf. And it's hilarious. It's fantastic. I want you guys to pull up. It'll be live on Twitch and TikTok, both Cresta Star. And then, I'm just going to tell you where you can find me too. I'm going to help Joe Pearl out. I'm going to help him out.
Let's go.
You can find me anywhere on the internet at Cresta Star, or you head over to my Twitter, Zitter, Xter, I don't know what it's called. Not the red one, Jesus Christ. That X thing, Cresta V Star, Linktree in my bio. You can find all my stuff there. You guys have been fantastic. Again, tell your loved ones you love them. Joe Pearl, I love you, dog. Where can they find you, dog?
I love you too, Cresta Star. You're the best. I am at Joel Pearl, JOELPEARL. I will be in the weeds with Jeremy Lambert tomorrow, as we are on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 10 a.m. on Eastern time on Fightful Over Books. The show for tomorrow is going to be very largely Bray Wyatt talk, and of course All In is coming up, so we're gonna have a lot of that. And yeah, just man, hug your loved ones, tell them you care. Anyone who's going to be at Impact Emergence this weekend, let me know. I plan to be there. Say hi, take a photo. I don't know what we're gonna do, but come and hang out. Okay, let's just do that. We'll do the thing. Until then, ladies, gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
Bye, y'all.